It's always good to see you all, and this is our first podcast of 2025. The Monday Night Live carries on, and cricket.com never fails to deliver. It literally is one of those times where we're going to be talking about everything this week, including India's defeat down under, South Africa versus Pakistan, the Vijay Hazare. There's lots of stats in that one that you guys like, and the small matter of the BBL, and lots more in the world of cricket. My name's Avnish Hegde, dressed in the Japanese third away kit, and I'm loving the football energy this weekend because my United should have won 3-2 against Liverpool at Anfield. We'll talk about that and the best of the rest if you guys are interested. But I have, of course, my partners in crime, one in white, one in black. We'll start with the one in white. Nikhil Popat, how are we? You and Somesh were ranting all right in that Hindi show yesterday.
Not me as much. I think my rants were there in the middle of the test series yesterday. It was all just so taking away, dismissing all the rumors about him being an MFI, but again, I think he was honest enough, and that's what we are here for. I know it's not always that's something that we like to hear about our favorites, but it is what it is. Eventually, at the end of the day, can't do much about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about that with you. We'll, of course, rate every player that we've seen in this Border Gavaskar trophy, and we'll get the chat involved as well. Good to see the chat already commenting on this Monday evening. I'll get to Akshay's thoughts in a bit, but good to see good to great. Shubham Gupta, Manikanta, Chandan Ramaya, props to you all, and Sagar Datta is along with Noodle Hacks with Vasant. Noodle Hacks will give you a little surprise later on in the show as well. Akshay, how are you, and how are things with everything women's cricket? You did the podcast over the weekend, another one, and there's lots more news in that. But how's your weekend in general, the first one of 2025?
Yeah, it's been not too bad, to be honest. We were at colleagues' house. I don't want to call it a house bombing ceremony, house party. So we were there, we were chilling. We watched the Liverpool United game there together with all the entire writing team there. So it was great fun to watch it with the blokes. And apart from that, yeah, been a very chill start to the new year. Hopefully we get to watch a lot of cricket going forward.
Yeah, before I take some more comments coming through, why were you laughing before we started the show? I mean, was it because of the jersey?
Yeah, just the jersey, nothing else. Especially the red in your jersey and nowhere else. That was the only thing that I was laughing at.
Oh, God. Anyway, to that chuckle, let's start the show. But before that, lots of comments coming through. Nikhil Bhai, Kohli, captaincy very poor in Sydney Test. No shot leg for Prasidh, where literally ball ahead was scoring. Thoughts, not going to ask Avnish for obvious reasons. I know many people are going to lambast me in the comments because I've defended Virat for the longest time, and I'm running out of my fucking reasons to defend the king. I literally am. Sagar Datta saying, if Avnish finds a way to defend Kohli even today, I will be unsubscribing to the channel today. So they clue balls. Your God, Avnish, Happy New Year, by the way. Relax, guys. I mean, I know I wear my heart on my sleeve, but it is what it is. Rathika Mandal, if that's a new name to the show, welcome along, and subscribe to cricket.com. Good to see you. Hello, Mr. Hegde, big fan of these two as well that I do the show with. So hopefully you're interested in our chat this evening, Rathika. Anyway, Ayush Kumar going on to say things about the BGT. We will start with the BGT boys and girls, and feel free to chip in with your ratings in the chat as well. We'll take it not alphabetically, but probably in batting order of both teams. And really quickly, we'll get Nick's and Akshay's thoughts about every player and how they fared in this 5-match test series. Before we move along, a sincere request, because I know lots of you guys have already tuned in on YouTube, on Twitter, and Facebook as well. On YouTube, can you quickly like this video because it helps with the algorithm? And if you guys haven't checked out our content, go do so later because there's time in this year, let alone in this week. Right, let's start with the BGT and how we have reacted to it. You've already seen it in the Hindi show, but quickly, before we go into the ratings, Akshay, I haven't heard from you post the series defeat. 3-1, was that a scoreline that sat well with you or not really?
For what it's worth, that was my pre-series prediction. When Ashri, the sir, was here, I predicted a 3-1 scoreline in Australia's favour. I mean, the way we began in Perth, I probably felt that, this Indian team might well punch above their weight and do good. But the fact that they didn't do well in Melbourne and Sydney, two surfaces that they were, expected to do well in, that probably did not, sit well with me. I wish they'd done better there. But given the surface on offer in Sydney, there's only so much that you can blame this setup about. Because not just the surface, with everything that's happened in the last couple of weeks, off field, on the field, yeah, I'm guessing everyone's probably just happy that the series is done. They would just want to go back home and just chill for now, just rest, take some rest and start off with a clean slate. But all in all, if I have to just look at the series and what the performance has been, not as bad as I thought it could be, but definitely it could have been a lot more better as well. It's just one of those mixed bags. But I'd any day take a mixed bag like this over the phone and whitewash where there's no coming back from. Here, there's still a lot of positives that they can look at, and at least it's good to see that now not just fans, but the think tank is also clear. They are willing to set, I mean, they've already set precedent, and they are willing to, Gautam Gambhir especially has shown that he's willing to, sort of, I don't know how to put that. Okay, he's willing to put his words where his actions are, or put his actions where his words are. Whatever that saying is. For some reason, I'm completely blanking out on that. But good to see him being able to do that. So I just hope it means more of these senior pros go back to the Ranji Trophy, just toil it out, practice at the very least, and come back all the better come England.
Okay, I mean, let me just kind of tell you how I've reflected on the series now that the dust is settled. And I feel like if there's any series which has tarnished the reputations of Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli, it's this series. More so just exposing their similar vulnerabilities. You look at Virat's last dismissal to Boland, how he got out. It was obviously identical to all the other 8 times he got out. The fact of the matter remains, in that last dismissal, he was so cheesed off. I would have liked to see that reaction the first time he got out the series, and maybe that could have changed it. But anyway, I would have to say that the scoreline flatters Australia a little bit, because I know 3-1, you could say in hindsight, India had their moments. And I'm not going to be here as an avid Indian fan, but it is the facts. 91 for 6 in that Melbourne test. It could have gone our way, guys. And who knows what could have happened in terms of that series scoreline. So 3-1, 2-2, whether India could have won it, I think that's a little far too much, but we could have definitely retained the BGT, in my opinion. Also, I think the fact that Ashwin's whole retirement in this whole series is kind of sad, and because the series lived up to its hype and the crowds coming through, I think that's been swept under the carpet. But I think he's been a great servant. We'll only realize over time, especially in the next cycle, when India start playing tests at home, how we will miss Ravichandran Ashwin. There's no doubt about it. Bumrah just stamping his authority once again. If the world ever needed a reminder of how good this bloke is, Bumrah has just absolutely nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. We couldn't ask for more from Jasprit Bumrah, in my opinion. Many people are having their own opinions about Siraj. I would say he was workhorse-like. I mean, I would like to use the word that Gurkirat used in his tweet to depict it. And I feel like 20 wickets in this Border-Gavaskar series, being that secondary bowler, yes, we always expect more. Yes, we want him to kind of grab the bull by its horns like how Bumrah does. But I think Siraj also, I would give the points over there. And then Jaiswal being an absolute positive. Also because he faced the most balls in terms of all the batters in the series. So something to look forward to, not just his strike rates and how he goes about his intent. Right, enough of me and enough of our larger chat. We'll go right into it by player by player. Lots more comments coming through. If we do miss out, there is the 12th man section, guys, so don't worry. Good evening to Ashutosh Bajpai, Dolph, who's going on to say the Seamer stats after Bumrah was quite shocking. It was. And Noodleax with us and having his points, as well as Asmit, Parth, Karthik, and Aryan Patel. So good to see all of y'all. And Neha Jain saying defending Rocco for life. Interesting thoughts on that Monday evening. Right, so let's go on, producer G, and get the player ratings done and dusted. Right, basically, let's keep it quick. One sentence about that player and what he's done in this series. So I'll start with Jaiswal, boys. On 10, how many points? And comment can also get free.
Yeah. So for me, I think I'll go with 8. Very, very good series. Exceeded expectations by some distance. India's highest scorer. 1 point cut for the run out, and 1 cut for the drop catches, because had both of those not happened, this series would have been far more different. So I'll happily give him an 8. I think those two mistakes were too big for India and they cost them a lot. So hence those deductions there.
I agree with Nick's over there. 8. Maybe I would push it with an 8.4 because he was just so good in terms of the rest, Akshay. Also, the fact that he literally got that 100, got a couple of 50s, those twin 80s in Melbourne, and not to forget, just also understanding how this team operates largely overseas, because it was a massive tour for him to prove his credentials. He's had a fantastic 2024, and he's nailed an 8 for me as well. So do you agree with me in that? And Nick's?
Yep, it is what I was also going for. Fantastic series, more than the runs itself. The stat that you mentioned earlier, he faced the most deliveries across Indian batters. That gave me a lot more confidence in him. I've also been of the opinion that he's one of those batters. He's one of the only batters who has it in him to actually occupy the crease, and it was good to see him also show that side of him during the series. Just onwards and upwards for him, because this was a very tough tour. Next year, apart from the England tour, there's also home games against West Indies, South Africa. I'm expecting really good things from him in 2025.
Okay, fair enough. So 8, 8, and 8.4 from my end. KL Rahul, boys, number 2 in this BGT player ratings. I would start and say 7.7. I generally thought he could have delivered more in that one test if his position wasn't fumbled with. What I liked of him was just exactly knowing how and where his off stuff was. Unlucky with Snicko in one of the games. So his numbers, even though what he ended up with, I think, 276 runs in the 5 tests that he played, averaging 30. It doesn't really go to show how much he kind of helped out India in terms of blunting that new ball up front for Jaiswal, just being that perfect foil for him. So KL, without my Bangalore bias, is a 7.7 and 10. Next, do you resonate?
Yeah, similar, but I'm just sticking to 7. And again, that I feel is probably a 1 point higher, because you want him to make the most of his starts. I think he got starts in quite a few games where you wanted him to then go on and make a big one. Again, the point here is not always about runs. We knew his role was going to be someone who has to spend a lot more time. So I would actually, if you be very harsh, I would probably give him a 6, because there were a few dismissals where he shouldn't have gotten out that way because of his role in particular. So I know people will go by the average of 30, but I think he did a better job than that. It was difficult. So not even 7. I think let's stick to 6. I think 6 is fair. Always leaves you wanting more. So I think that way it's a good number.
Okay, 6. Akshay, do you resonate with Nick's in the chat? The chat's giving him a 4, 5, 6, pretty much on those lines.
I'd give him I started off at 7, and I'll probably go 0.5 higher, 7.5, only because of all the tinkering that happened with his position that did not really help his cause. I want to believe if he was given a consistent run, and if he played 10 innings at one single position, he probably would have given better returns. So given that, I would still give him a 7.5, because it's not easy for you to have to play across up and down the order. It's easier said than done. You're sometimes asked to play the new ball. Sometimes you're expected to arrest a collapse, and on other occasions you're expected to just occupy the crease. He did all those different roles with decent proficiency. So 7.5, I think, is a fair shout, because even on the field, I don't think there were too many other goof ups. The way he handled himself, the way he also, I wouldn't say groomed, but the way he also partnered with Jaiswal at the top, it was really good to see. So 7.5 for me.
Okay, fine. So it's an average pretty much of around 7 from our side. If we have been slightly lenient and kind to KL, let us know in the chat. Parth saying KL Gazab aadmi hai. He had peak and downfall in the same series. Asmit saying KL is a 6 and 10 because his average is 30, but he should have ate up more deliveries. Fair point. Good to great saying Akshay saying 7.5. Did you watch the entire series, mate? But good to great. Love your banter in the chat. Keep them coming through. And Karthik saying by going into the BGT, never we have expected KL. What happened at Virat? So 7 is ideal. Yeah, that's also a very important point in terms of setting context. Remember that dismissal of who was it? I think who got him through the legs in that warm-up match. So everyone was kind of having a laugh at KL before the series started.
Rachi Kohli, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Rohit Kohli, मैंने उल्टा बोला, sorry, जो भी है.
No worries. Let's move on to player number 3 that we want to rate in terms of the BGT, and that's Shubman Gill. Shubman Gill, I think there was a comment earlier towards Knicks from Parth. So let's start there, and then, of course, give me a points on 10 for Gill.
So Parth, my point was, if you want to keep him in the setup, which you think he should be, because he is that good enough, but maybe he's good enough at that spot. So again, as I said yesterday, if you want to take a call on both Gill and K, do so, but do it for once and for all. Don't be K. We'll then adjust them anywhere and wherever we can. So that is the overall theme for that. And for points, I think I'll give him the points that he has for his spot, and that is 3, because this had to be his series. He's got starts. If you don't make most of those starts, it's not going to help you anywhere. So 3, 4, whichever you want to go, I think that's the max that you will give him.
Okay, love that. They're not holding back. Knicks as well is not. DOF saying Gill is shot selection, game IQ is horrendous. What was that shot to line? I mean, again, line just gone to his head. Labuschagne and Smith got to his head with that chirp. I don't know if you heard it, but Gill was really caught there. Greg saying Gill 2. Good to Great saying Gill got napping in crisis 2 as well for him. And Arjun Patel saying Gill should be given more chances. Couple of shots that Gill played were absolutely brilliant, but obviously his series, 93 runs in 5 innings that he played. He didn't play, of course, those 2 tests. Smith going on to say Gill has been the biggest disappointment for him this series. Initially, I thought it was the next Kohli. Currently, he's not even a fraction of Kohli. And Ashutosh Bhattacharya saying Gill making runs as much as his age, barely. Akshay, where do you stand on Gill? I think I'm going to be setting with a 4.5 for Gill, because if he got the longer rope, maybe he could have given us 50 or more. But of course, outside Asia, since 2021, the numbers don't lie.
Yeah, at this point in time, he's busy replicating the latter half of Kohli's career when we all are expecting him to do it with the form, and that's the biggest problem. I'll actually be a bit more stricter with him, especially because of his short selections. It's not just the fact that he didn't get runs, but the way he was getting dismissed again and again across those 5 innings, that really annoyed me more than anything, because we can still cut batters some slack if if they still have it in them to grind it out, to grit it out and stay there. But वो दिखा ही नहीं यहाँ पे, वो दिख ही नहीं रहा. It seemed like he's here, he's chilling, he's going out. And this is coming from a guy who actually defended his dismissal against Bo Webster. I'll still say that was probably the least of my concerns, because intent आपको समझ आया था. That was the one dismissal where you knew Bo Webster was the bowler they all wanted to target, so he went after him. The ball just seemed back in very sharply. There was very little he could have done. That dismissal ठीक है, but बाकी it was just very bizarre. I'm going with the 2. वो भी इसीलिए क्योंकि I don't think I'll be giving anyone 0, because उतना तो मैं नहीं, तो 2 देना है बस. But yeah, really disappointed with the series. We all knew he was entering the series and not the greatest of form, but despite that, for him to not be able to do practically anything was genuinely disappointing.
Okay, fair enough. Pava saying Gill 0.5, 0 game awareness, always threw his wicket away in crunch moments for the game was in balance. And what else regarding Gill? Sports fans saying Gill is a big 0. What did he even do? I mean, if you think about even his test career right now, sports fan, he's played 32 tests, averages 35, 40 at home, 30 away, just 500s in that time and 1,800 runs. So in terms of his potential and what he can deliver, you expected at least him be around that 3,000 run barrier. Maybe that's a little touch too high in my expectation, but Gill is that for me. Player number 4 in batting order, it is Virat Kohli, and I know I'm going to save mine for the boys in just a bit. Nikhil, Virat on 10, how much should you give him?
Very difficult, no? If you give 3 for this short selection, how much do you give a guy who you expect more? Now, the logic here has to be how much do you expect of him to give him rankings or ratings accordingly. I'm very torn between the same 2 numbers, because he got starts, but he got out the same way. So that makes it really difficult. He got a great 100 to start with, but 100 out of 190. And the rest of the innings, there have hardly been anything. To me, most disappointingly, it's also been the timing of his dismissals. You look at just before lunch. That's not the place where you want Virat to get out. So, with a hard heart, I'll still probably give him 3. He got starts, should have converted most of them, and the dismissals patterns, bro. I mean, Vikas said it very rightly. At one stage, you felt just leave one on the stumps. Just get bowled. Even that would do, but don't get out nicking again to the switch. Because if the bowler is coming in saying we'll get him out like this, and eventually he gets out like that, the expectations are more from him.
Akshay, what about you, Virat?
I'll be slightly lenient on him for a couple of reasons. Not the century is definitely not one of them. वो ठीक है भाई, मतलब अच्छा century था, so it was great to watch. And it really had us all pumped up because it was the first test and whatnot. But for me, the manner of dismissals actually, this is coming from a couple of articles that I did get a chance to read. They were fantastic ones. We'll try and plug them in the description. One was a Substack piece written by Hari Govind, and there was also Himanish Ganju, who probably came up with the Twitter thread. I don't know if it was an article or not. There was there were a couple of interesting observations that probably made me be a bit less harsh on Virat and look at him in a different light. For the longest time, I, like most, felt the same ki boss, ठीक है यार, तुम बहुत stubborn हो, probably even bordering arrogance, कि तुम जैसे खेलो तुम वैसे ही खेलोगे, and you want to stick to it, and it's worked for you before, so you want to bank on it. But this is not the time to be stubborn. This is the time to adapt. And just like most people, I also felt the same. But there were a couple of interesting observations made over there, and one of them being the way he got out. Sure, we've all bucketed them in the same category, saying he's gotten out outside the off stump, trying to edging the ball to slips or the keeper or something. But the difference has been with the fact that he's not getting out trying to drive the ball. There's a clear difference between that. Like, even if you can have the beehive, the beehive that we had just a while back, you can see the length at which he's edging these balls. Earlier, it used to be a lot more fuller, where bowlers were trying to swing the ball past him, and he would try to drive and then he would edge. This time, that's not been the case. He's clearly tried to cut down on the drives, but unfortunately, it still not worked for him. He ended up batting a bit too side on, which meant he was opening himself up and trying to trying to solve for one issue, ended up creating a whole new different issue, and he clearly didn't have answers for that. I'm still not going to say that that absolves him of any mistake, because bhai, tum 15 saal se international cricket khelo, this can't be an excuse. So we have to still be very objective about it, कि जो भी हो 15 साल अगर आपने खेला है, had this been with Yashasvi Jaiswal, I would have completely given him the benefit of doubt. I would have probably told कि boss ठीक है चलता है, ये पहला series है. For someone who's been to Australia 4 times before, who's been playing international cricket for 15 years, who knows the ins and outs of this game, you would expect far better. So I'm going with the 4, primarily because he's still hung in there. He still consumed a fair few deliveries across those innings and chucked the century. So just because of that, I'll give him a 4 on 10. And this is my idea of being lenient, but 4 se zyada to har kis nahi.
Okay, fine. Mine, I think, is a 5, purely because it's a player rating and it's not just a batter rating. If you have to give a batter rating, I'd probably give him about 3.5. And obviously, it's there for you guys to see in terms of what that really caused pain towards so many Virat fans. My problem with it was purely because even if you look at the last innings he played, there was one shot which was uncanny of Virat throughout the series. And I was like, why didn't he think of doing this? He could have had a little bit more success with it. That pull shot, which was like a Ponting pull, which is wide of mid-on. And I don't know whether because he came out also like a little tiger, he was kind of standing captain then, so you wanted to take it and grab it. And that was the attitude that I wanted to see him slightly before. I would give him a 5 purely because if you look at the series and moments of the series where he came up with constant plans with the bowlers, and you not normally see that with Virat being the leader in the group. Like, yes, he did in his captaincy reign, but like with him to help Rochama a lot was there. I would also take into consideration that drop catch at the start of the series. Everyone was just like, bro, what are you doing in slip cotton? Because he's been found wanting in that position over his years there, but got well after that. I think he stood in pretty decently in terms of the standing captain, but then he loses marks even in terms of what he did to Constis, which will come about and talk about all the controversies as well. So weighing it out and slight soft corner and all of that, max 5. There's no chance I'm going even 5.1, 5.2 to Virat. I mean, I know the chat's going mad right now in terms of what they think about Virat. Karthik saying Kohli hardly has a variety of shots. He just doesn't play a cut shot back foot. There was one more from Shlok saying, I'm probably the biggest VK fan here, but I think it's time to say bad. I don't want him to ruin his numbers and legacy. He doesn't seem the Virat Kohli after COVID, and that he might not get to 10K as well. Kohli's dismissal in the Melbourne second innings was tragic, saying off, and whatever rank given to Kohli was sledging or bumping into Constis. And Chandan Ramya saying 3.5. So everyone's obviously not holding back with Virat. And look, you guys can have your say on this Monday Night Live pod. Like this video. We want to hit like at least 50 likes minimum. That's the like basic plea that we guys have when we do this show week in, week out, every Monday, no matter where we are. Sorry, there was one more. I'll come back to that. White to black, to left to grey, and between what color combination of t-shirts. I mean, it is, you're going to get everything. It's a Venn diagram. It's almost like your black and white is leaking over to the grey. Good to great saying, it's high time VK put a price and a stack for a player of his caliber, but he's a bunny for bowling. I mean, yeah, bowling literally just had him on toast, you would say that. Dorf saying, please don't forget Rohit. I want to see his rankings. Let's talk about Rohit then, because he was, of course, pushed down the order before we come to Pant and NKR and stuff like that. And this is a longer segment than I presume, but let's move on rapidly, lads. Rohit Sharma, who's going first? Are we going negative for the Indian captain?
Negative, तो मतलब इतना negative भी नहीं
I'm
होना
just
है.
trying to figure, like, what's that one moment of brilliance? He had one or two good sessions where he captained well, but then again, you could put it down to Bumrah's brilliance and all of that stuff. So, what did Rohit do well on this tour? Anything at all?
I agree with Greg के PR. वो भी घटिया था, but मेहनत और कोशिश तो पूरी थी. उसके लिए मैं point जरूर दे सकता हूँ. But jokes apart, it was a horrendous tour for him, unfortunately. A year that, I mean, on a personal note, would be remembered for so many different things, the birth of his son and whatnot. But yeah, on the field, he's not had the greatest of years. Barring the 2024 World Cup, it's just been very, very, very disappointing. And yeah, this tour has been no different with the bat, on the field, as the captain, as the leader. On no counts could you possibly, look at him in a positive light. And this is coming from me, just personal opinion, of course. I'll give him a 1. Yeah, I have no justification for why I'm giving a 1, but I'm giving a 1 only because the only justification is I don't want to give anyone a 0. That's it. But he, पहले से spoiler दे देता हूँ. He's the lowest rated player for me. Like, उनसे नीचे कोई नहीं थे. जो भी के थे, everyone had some net कहीं तो positive था, कहीं पे कुछ तो मिला था. With Rohit Sharma, like I said the last week as well, the most disappointing part was not that he as captain was not getting runs. We've seen that before as well. Many batters, होता है, सबके साथ होता है, everyone goes through a lean patch of form. But the way he carried himself on the field, yeah, मतलब, be it Yashasvi Jaiswal, be it some of the fielding plans that he had in general, the 1-2 line and bowling, that comes to mind. यार उनसे तुमने 100 deliveries खिलवा लिए, तुमने bowling से 65 deliveries खिलवा लिए. No one in the close end, everyone, मतलब तुमने पूरा field spread कर लिया for no rhyme or reason. So it was, that all in all, it was very disappointing to see Rohit Sharma conduct himself the way he did as a fan.
Yeah, he called wrongly at the toss. You could say that as well. Kind of gave him little minus points in terms of this player ratings. You talk about the batting order being shuffled there, ruining KL's sort of tour in many ways. Even just the fact that he lacked tactics, and Karthik brings that point up in terms of comparing Virat and Rohit. 0 points for throwing Bumrah under the bus on day 2 lunch talk, saying Ashutosh Bajpai. And Bumrah took more wickets than Rohit's runs. Can't be more shambolic performance by an Indian skipper. And one more comment from Ayush Kumar was 91 for 6 in Melbourne. Maybe Bumrah's brilliance added, but yes, one moment for Rohit. And finally, before I get to Nix's ratings of Rohit, Arnav Singh saying Rohit is batter 0, captain +1, PC -4, and PR +10. PC, I'm guessing, is press conferences. Nix, all said and done, Rohit, I mean, are you going to go give him at least a 2, or are you sticking with Akshay in 1 and 10?
I'll give him a 2, purely from the sense. One, Akshay Gambhir better, probably 0.5 for the efforts to try and do something. But when you are in that kind of form, you could see nothing was working for him, whether he played at 6 or he came at 1. The 0.5 is also for the getting it right enough times, but then letting it go. But then at least you got yourself something. So if you want to not give him the if you want to give him credit and blame also, so you have to do that. So 0.5 for that, and 1 for purely dropping himself in the last game, because it was easier for him to play. Nobody would have said anything had he played. But again, we don't know if he took the call himself or whatever happened. But he categorically came out and said that I stood down. So 2, and as Akshay said, I don't think I'll have to rate anybody lower than this, and it is unfortunate. But yeah, you can have such 2s. It's something that he'll want to forget as quickly as he can.
Just this one thing before we go to the next player. How much of that call of Rohit Sharma stepping down had to do with the selectors and the coach and the think tank saying कि boss ये तो हो ही नहीं रहा है, please, and how much of it do you think was like Rohit said कि boss मैं नहीं बोला कि मुझे नहीं खेला, दिमाग है, maturity है, 2 बच्चों का बापू, सब उन्होंने कहा, What do you think, Avnish?
Bro, I honestly see it this way. I just generally feel that they would have partied their asses off on New Year's. Agarkar was there, Gambhir was there, Rohit's there. They're all like pals. It's honestly that. Let me just like give you my insight of what I think about it. And then they would have had a reflection or a lunch in Jan first and be like, Kya karna hai, bhai? It's a start. What do we do? Rohit would be like, look, if I play, then again, look, I want to go out there and represent India. And he would have said all of those things. But I would have generally think Agarkar and Gambhir would have been like, maybe we can play it this way. We can project the fact that you can stand down a skipper and just, put the country first and use Team India and winning is more important and all those cliches and get away with it. And they've gone down that route. Because if they went the other route, which is like play Rohit again, I think it would have been better if I was a Rohit Sharma fan. I would have been like, at least Rohit's not backing away from a challenge, bro. This is like taking the easy option out, being covered about it. And obviously, we've known about his PR game. We've known about how he's doing this at a time when the test is going on. You say it before or after. You don't try to grab the headlines and do that in terms of during the game. I know the country wants answers, but there's a time and place for everything. And I just think that interview was just desperate, absolutely desperate. And the fact that a few Bollywood celebrities have sided with that is just ridiculous because, first of all, I think Rohit's not done anything to get the test captaincy. If you rewind the clock further, I mean, at that point in time, he did everything to get the white ball captaincy, but definitely not the red ball scheme of things. So I just look at it as the final goodbye series. I don't think he's going to play any more test cricket. I think he might win the Champions Trophy for us and then come out with a statement saying, I might be retiring from international cricket. This is me guessing it, but I feel Rohit, I would give him like 1, bro. Again, I would not give anyone 0 because of what Akshay said, because it's just unfair, because these guys are cricketers. They turn up, they do all the right things, and you have shit series. But like, it's the worst I've ever seen Rohit in any series ever in my life. So that's how I feel about it. I know many people will throw daggers at me, but bring it on. It's a Monday Night Live. Remember, like this video. We're here to discuss India's players in detail, and then we'll quickly skim through the Australian players because we know who's just honestly the best in terms of the down under side. Right, Rishabh Pant then, moving on. What did you guys like of him? Because there were so many expectations going into the series, and I think I'll give him a good 7, man. I don't think he deserves anything less. I mean, beg to differ, guys.
I'll probably go. Yeah, I'll give him a 5. But again, it has to do more with the fact that we expected a lot from him. He was arguably our best test batter. Given those expectations, did he meet them? I highly doubt. But if you want to just look at it objectively, sure, he didn't have the worst of series, the worst of tours. खेल लिया मतलब ढंग का जितना हो सकता है. I know he received a lot of flack for the way he got out a couple of times. But again, in his defense, that's always been his game. He lives by the sword, he dies by it. And as much as we get annoyed with these antiques, these very antiques got us that Gaba win. So we'll have to just, accept it and take it in our stride. I'll give him a 5, yeah, exactly, just because of the fact he was बहुत ज़्यादा expectations, and I genuinely thought एक ना एक तो century देखने को मिलेगा. Unfortunately, wasn't to be the case. But that last innings as well, insane. He just showed why Pant playing his natural game is so destructive. 61 of 33 in an innings where no one else could barely strike or barely even get back to ball. Just goes on to show the kind of talent he is.
Okay, next, how much of that 61 elevate your score right now with Pant? Because that was his highest score on tour, and we expected more than just cameos like that. There were times where he kind of dug in. We saw how he took those body blows. There were times where he was exposed, with especially Cummins over the wicket, and eventually Cummins got him out in his last innings on tour. So having said everything about Rishabh Pant, what is your score for him on 10, this BGT?
Yeah, mine is similar to what Akshay said. I'll also give him a 5. I do hold him. See, I understand and I'm all for his extravagant shots. And I don't mind his first innings dismissal of the previous test, but the second inning dismissal, the Melbourne one, I don't think it is justified. You're not going to go for a win there. And sometimes you have to play the situation more. Again, I'm not saying it was stupid. I'm just saying you have to put up more price on the wicket because you are that good enough. And it was a the entire series was you losing on moments, and that was one of those moments because it cost India the test. ऐसा नहीं था कि you lost or you drew the game because of that error. You went on to lose the game because of that error. So I think the last test, the last 61 actually gives him that extra point, because otherwise right through the test you saw him get out very predictively. I mean, Som, I don't know if I should put the mockers on Som, that he put the mockers ke Cummins ko ek bhi baar out nahi hua, and Cummins eventually came back to get him from the angle that we've all discussed. Over the wicket is where you have to get him. So tougher series for him, and again we expected more of him. Hence it was 4 then, but that last innings, it just tells you how good he is, that if one inning can give you one extra point, just tells you how much more he could have done. So one rare series, it's okay. He'll get better. So I'm not worried about that, but I still not want to see the shot that he gave versus Travis. It was unnecessary.
And plus, he's the only batter who's had a first ball 6 this series. So one more extra point from my side. Pant game awareness is 0, saying Ravi Singh, he still feels immature after playing so many tests. 5 for his wicket keeping more than batting. It is a thankless job, saying sports fan. And Dov saying the MCG second innings dismissal was too far. He let himself down. Good to great adding on about the Pant chat, boys, saying what we want from Pant literally is just 4 hours of his presence at the crease. Just imagine the opposition captain would be in if Pant stays in that long. I agree with you. And Chandan Ramaya saying Pant, SCG knocks 10, MCG knock with a huge deficit, minus 4.5, overall 5.5. And finally, to wrap up the Pant chat, no matter how many experts say whatever and however critical of him, but Pant's USP is his ability to counter-attack, saying Ayush Kumar, and he should always stick to it, that he can change his game in no time. And look, again, it's about living by that sword and dying by that sword indeed. Ashutosh Vajpayee quickly letting his rating on Pant know. 6 and 10, expected more. Can't always say this is how he plays. Koi bhi shot market out nahi aana. Aggression without brains makes you an animal. Right. Let's move on then. And Sari Saha also squeezing in his point, saying 5 for Pant. NKR, loved him. Absolute positive. Probably the 3 highlights of the tour being NKR, Bumrah, and Jaiswal in whichever order. Maybe Bumrah obviously takes precedence, but NKR, guys, if we've given Jaiswal an 8, 8.2, and 8, I think NKR would probably get an 8.4 for me, just because he could contribute first tour, didn't seem like a deer in front of the headlights. So that's for me an 8.5 for NKR. Akshay?
I'm just torn between 6.5 and 7. I'll probably go with 7. Pehla tour tha isliye. Overall, fantastic tour for him with the bat, but again, expected a lot more from him with the ball. If you guys remember what Sridhar sir also had to say, he in fact said that Nitish is actually more of a bowling all-rounder when it comes to red ball cricket and a batting all-rounder when it comes to white ball cricket. Did not really add as much value as, again, I expected off of him. Again, probably down to how much I really expected him, given that we needed that fourth pacer to be able to contribute enough with the ball, not just by taking wickets, just by holding an end up. And I don't think he did it just as well as I would have liked him to. But all in all, again, bat ke saath bahut zyada acha tha. Was great to watch it. In fact, the more I speak about it, probably I think 6.5 is a lot more fair, considering the fact that bhai ball ke saath zyada ho nahi paya tha, but yeah, with the bat, phenomenal talent. I just hope now the think tank has it in them to promote him. He should be batting somewhere at number 5, number 6. Agar pan number 5 pe khelenge, number 6 should be NKR. It can't be number 8. There's no point having batting depth in Test cricket. We've seen how, in fact, it was Kohli Shastri's India who nailed down the 6 batter, 5 bowler strategy. And I think that is the way to go about in Test cricket, because the objective always should be to take 20 wickets and not have batters who can hold on to their end, even when they're batting at number 9 or number 10. So I hope NKR gets that promotion. It would also mean that we'll have someone in the top 6 who can bowl. That's something that's much needed. But all in all, again, he should be very, very, very pleased and very proud of his maiden tour.
Okay, super. Cha Sonu giving 1 point extra, 8 for NKR. Greg saying, is NKR a pace bowling batting order? Seemingly so, even though he's dibbly-dobbly or pedestrian, if you'd like to put it that way. NKR, he will go from good to great. A little bit later, reckons good to great. 7.10 for him. Sarisa, 7.5 for NKR. And more comments coming through about NKR, which is always good to see, because again, this is the future that we're going to see. He's a young lad and he has lots on his shoulders. Nick, where do you stand on NKR? Because a couple of 40s initially in that tour, but then that 100 Amazing stuff. And then, of course, a couple of ducks, but who cares?
Yeah, I think I agree with that assessment. I'll probably give him a 7. I wanted to give him more, but I still maybe I'm a lot more harsh there. But I am disappointed by his last 2 dismissals. Uh, even in MCG, I felt against Nathan Lyon, he's someone who played Nathan Lyon so convincingly and so confidently previously. So then for him to get out like that, and then the dismissal against Scott Boland, uh, maybe it feels like teacher-like, but that is something that I did not want to see from a batter who's in form. So your expectations are going to be different from a guy who's in form like that. So probably lost out an entire point because of those 2 dismissals. Uh, his bowling not being used, I would not blame him for that because again the team management had no clue how to use him. So that's not his fault. Hopefully they'll realize, and maybe he can also work with the team management that maybe I can bowl with a new ball. I'll give you some control. So whatever that is, you'll have to figure out. Him not being used again is not his problem. So as a batter, I'll 100% give him a 7 because he played as a batter most often.
Okay, fair enough. By the way, if you guys are enjoying our Monday Night Live chat, we're doing the BGT player ratings and we're looking forward to a lot more in this podcast. I know it's already 41 minutes, but get your dinner and join us. I've just got a portion of grilled pineapple and some nice paneer for myself. So not making you guys hungry across the screen, but if I am, good luck on that. Himanshu, if you're new to the channel, we'll take questions to this in the 12th man. And that's later on in the show. So jump back on or just jump into this conversation right now. And similar to Divakar about this, we will address our thoughts about Bo Webster and his school yearning. Forget anything else. Right. Jadeja, what about him? Player ratings. I know he didn't play a couple of games, but still decent with the bat. He got that 70 odd. How much did he end up scoring in terms of the series? 135 runs in the 5 innings. And that's basic that you can expect from Jadeja. I know his numbers outside Asia has been brilliant, especially in this format. I know his partner in crime has now been due to the game. So where does that leave Jadeja going forward, and how much do you guys rate him? I think flat 6 and 10.
Yeah, I think I have the same number in mind, exactly 6. Would have wanted him to play right from the first test. I think he was the batting order that India had to play. They took a risk with NKR. It came off, but it also backfired because eventually you had to play NKR and then another batting all-rounder because your batting was so bad right through the series. So 6 purely for his, actually 6 may say 5 is purely for his knock because that saved India in Gaba. Otherwise, this could have been over by the time you came into the last one. I won't be surprised if you give him 5. I think his bowling let me down. I expected a lot more control from him. He bowled short very, very often. And again, him not being used was visible because he was not giving India control. So that is also something that I'll take out. So yeah, maybe not 6. I'll probably go a bit harsh in that way and give him a 5.
Or 5. Remember, he did get Travis head out, but Rohit didn't review. So that could have also really changed the series if you guys looked at it that way. Jaddu, bit jittery. Everyone's saying 4. Sports fans saying Jadeja 4 for his Gaba knock. Expect more from his batting. Ravi Singh saying Jadeja being experienced pros just average, not good enough in batting and bowling. And Sari Saha saying the same, 5 for Jadeja. And I'm not having biryani. Why? And I love NKR's imperious run indeed. Akshay, what about Jadeja for you? You laughed when we both said 6 because you were saying
मेरे दिमाग में भी 6 ही आया था because I was literally writing down कि सबको कितना दिया है so that relatively मैं सबको कितना दे रहा हूँ वो भी एक idea मिले. Jadeja 6 ही था मेरे लिए. 7 for his batting and basically Nikhil भाई की तरह ही था मेरा भी scoring just +1. 7 for his batting. I really thought he was a very dependable option for India. Unfortunately, he should have played a lot more knocks, a lot more innings at least. I really felt that he could have made a difference had he been a part of the series through and through. This part, yes, that is a valid criticism that, at times he did sort of become overly defensive and overly cautious. But in all fairness, that's been his game. He's never been a dasher in red ball cricket. So given that, he's stuck to his strength, so I don't blame him for that. So a solid 6. Just again, I just wish that ball ke saath, like Nikhil bhai said, thoda zyada control mil jata. I think it could have helped India massively because that's where we struggle. Just being able to hold one end up is where we struggle. That hardly any of our bowlers were able to do it consistently We saw Siraj do it at times. We saw Akash do it at times, but no one did it consistently over an extended period, and that's what pretty much cost us the series.
I mean, to be fair, if you look at how many wickets fell to spin the series, it was probably less than 20 across 5 games. So even Lion just ended up with 9 wickets. Sundar, I think, got...
But economy, control, na, just holding an end up does not mean taking wickets. Na, just making sure that the batters aren't able to release pressure from that end. That's all. We are expecting from him.
Yeah, I think Lion with 2.7 is his economy, and then Jadeja and Sundar was just a touch above 3, but I completely see where you're coming from. Vignesh Ram, welcome to the show. Going on to say Jadeja used to be a metronome, but now he's a caricature of that, or metroneme, but he's a caricature of that. Karthik saying Jaddu never knew if he could play 3 tests, but he has. Remember, that's a caveat also for the player ratings. Only the players who played 3 tests, we're rating them. So let's move on and talk about Sundar next in batting order. That's how we're going. So Sundar, like I said, did decently with the ball. Could have probably expected more wickets, but in the surface like that, like what Akshay just mentioned about Jadeja, the holding role was not there to see. With the bat in hand, slight unlucky calls in terms of a dismissal. That Snicker one, we can remember that. And he was put in various precarious positions, and it's never easy to bat with the tail. So having said all of that, guys, I would give Sundar again a flat 6 on 10. Oh my, being too kind in these ratings. Nix, how much Sundar?
Yeah, you are. Yeah, I'll go with 4. Again, 5 is to Jadeja because he got that big score. Sundar also batted time, but I think that's all he batted. His inclusion as a batting all-rounder meant that you had to use him, but they hardly used him. But that is not his fault. But with the bat, I expected a lot more from him. Even in the last gig, you felt okay. Jadeja is defensive, but Sundar is someone who has a bit more shots, and he's someone who can probably look to do something else. 1 point is cut purely for his skills for batting with the tail, because some of that was beyond my understanding, that you don't even have to say to people that, oh, you are batting with the tail, you have to farm strike. You can't take 2s, or you can't do stuff that you do that, okay, let's just take a strike now and hopefully he can, take care of it. So I want him to, as Darshan says, I want him to bat higher, but that is also because of his defensive skills, not because of his skills to get the runs, so to say. So, yeah, as Santosh says, I deduct a point for the batting with the tail, so a 4. Sorry.
Okay. Good to great saying Sundar showed signs of promise with the bat, but underbowled by Rohit. 6 and 10 for him. Asmit saying wickets kahan se lega Sundar. Our 5 times IPL winning captain Bharat Ratna Shri Rohit didn't utilize his bowling properly. Heavy, but appreciated. Freaking awesome. Welcome to the chat. He didn't get enough opportunities to bowl, he reckons, Akshay. Sundar. If team wanted to use him as a pure batter, he should have batted ahead of Jadeja.
I agree.
And again, they have a certain pecking order, maybe. I don't know how the management sees it, but that's how exactly they see it that way. Also, Ayush Kumar going to say Sundar should bat in the top 6. I feel he looks very compact, and some shots remind him of the great Brian Lara. That's a compliment. Slightly high, but okay, we'll accept it in the MNL. And it's, of course, your entitled opinion. And Ravi Singh saying Sundar batting only disappointed. Yeah. So where do you stand in Sundar really quickly? 6 and 10 or less?
5 and 10 for me. Just batting achhi thi, but lack of game awareness, and also with the ball in hand, sure, he was underbowled and I wouldn't put that against him. But jo bhi dekha, it wasn't very, it was still very under par, to be honest. There was nothing new or different. I don't know how much of it can be put down to captaincy and the whole atmosphere in the back room and all of it. But all in all, I would give him a 5 on 10. Batting acha tha. He has a very good technique. That is something we've always spoken about. But my concern again is the fact can he consistently bowl and bat at the same time? We've not seen a lot of it. Sure, that New Zealand innings, that New Zealand test match comes to mind, the one in Mumbai, 7 for liya, batting mein bhi acha kiya tha. But again, he needs to be able to come up with performances like that time and time again for us to have some faith in him. We've seen that with Akshar Patel. So I hope that Akshar also gets his due and Washi also eventually is able to prove himself.
Okay, fine. Fair enough. Let's move on really quickly then and go to Siraj. Because, look, like I keep saying in this BGT ratings, we're not taking into consideration people like Dhruv Jalal, Padikkal, Harshit Rana, Akashdeep. All of those guys played lesser than 3 tests, so we'll give you our opinions about them really quickly if we have time at the end of the show. But right now, Mohammad Siraj, 20 wickets in the 5 test matches. Many people think he bowled his heart up. Many people think he still has a long way to go. Where do you guys sit on Mohammad Siraj? Let me start by saying that I think Siraj, I'd give him a 7.1 on 10. I think like there's a ceiling that he has. There's obviously a ceiling that he can break through, and that's being optimistic as a fan. I think he bowled his heart out in the last tour because obviously it was against us with the injuries and stuff like that. But I was expecting slightly more from Siraj, but still, like given certain situations of the game, he had to kind of remove some of the big fish of Australia, and he did that. He bowled to some plans and he executed that brilliantly. If you look at how he got Smith out sometimes in the series, it was good from Siraj's perspective. But a 7.1, 7.2, nothing more for me for Siraj. How much do you guys rate him on 10? Nix?
I'll give him a 6.5. 0.5 is purely for the effort that he put in terms of number of overs. Again, the rating is into consideration how much I expect of him. This is his second tour, and he's bowled a lot of overs, and that is his strength. But then that strength, if it doesn't lead to match defining wickets, then it's not going anywhere. So I think at many times in this series he was very good, which is why he gets that 6, because he looked good. He took wickets in bunches as well a couple of times, but very often they came in the second innings. But in second innings, most often India have played catch up. You have to set the games up in the first innings, and there were occasions where he went at over 4 and considerably. So that I think is something that, again, we've spoken at length about Siraj, that you can be the workhorse. Maybe he's overused, he's overbowled right through across formats, but that is something they'll have to sit down and figure out. Okay, if you want him to play Test cricket regularly and be the second pacer, because he's still not your second pacer. So considering all that, yes, he's taken a lot of wickets. So 6.5 for me, it's probably fair.
Okay, fair enough. Siraj, by the way, 157 odd overs, not 130,
Yeah.
but thank you for that, Vignesh Ram. Does Siraj need to be backed as a test specialist alone by picking him only in tests? I mean, Bala, that's a good point to think on. But again, let's see how the road really goes forward for this team India, because even the WTC 2027 cycle, we know the schedule for that. We'll talk about that in the best of the rest as well. Do you guys feel Siraj performed better when the captain guides him into plans? He's looked poor under Rohit. And Darshan Senthil saying they've really overworked Siraj, to be honest. There's several tests he didn't have to play before this. Again, Akshay, what's your assessment of Siraj? How much would you give him on 10? Because not a single fifer. When we talk about Siraj, often in white ball cricket, we use that cliche: when he blows hot, he blows hot. When he blows cold, he blows cold. But 4 for 98, his best dividends on the tour. And getting a wicket every 8 overs, you expect that to probably be 6.5 overs if we want the best Siraj.
Again, I want to be a lot more lenient with Siraj, not just because of the number of overs he's bowled. Of course, everyone knows those numbers. He's thrown in 650 odd overs since 2023, the most for any Indian pacer and the second most for any Indian bowler. Like the fact that he's bowling more than even spinners like Ashwin goes on to show how much he's had to bowl. And this is despite India having played majority of their tests in the last couple of years in India. So workhorse एक होता है, but ठीक है, again, he's been massively overused, and at times when when it wasn't even necessary. Secondly, why I also want to be less harsh is, again, from what little I understand of Test cricket, they go have bowling. Maybe it is again partnership bowling. When Bumrah is going gung ho from one end, invariably batters will look to either attack or ensure they don't give away their wickets from the other end. Very rarely do you see bowlers from both ends consistently taking wickets, and it's not easy. So given that, it again invariably, like अगर बुमराह एक इंच से करा, ऐसा नहीं होगा ना, opponent भी तो खेलनी है, वो सबको थोड़ी ना wicket देती रहेगी. It's not that simple. Like if you want to compare his numbers in the series with say even Mohammad Shami from 2018, he's done much better. So that way, I feel he's received a lot of luck, some rightfully. The spell in Melbourne, the second innings in SCG, at SCG, absolutely pathetic. Horrendous. Not pathetic, absolutely horrendous. This jab surface aapke favor mein, when there's so much for you to work with, despite that, you not being able to make the most of it was very disappointing. But despite that, yeah, I'll go with the 7. But it is important that Team India understands this about Siraj. over 2 months ago, October, when we did our first ever episode of cricket.com live, I remember talking about Siraj then. कि बॉस उससे बहुत हमने मैचेस खिलवा लिए, चाहे तो तुम रेस्ट ही कर दो उसे. Just stop making him play for a while. You just cannot keep using him. I just hope he doesn't, exert too much and also cause something that will be very long term, cause an injury that's very long term. But all in all, yeah, I still think he's not had as bad a series as others make it to be. For uski economy thi, I know that's slightly on the higher side, but if you look at his fall shot percentage, it's higher than the likes of Stark and it's on par with Cummins. Goes on to show that he's induced enough fall shots from the batters. Probably wasn't, was a tad bit unlucky with them not converting to wickets as often as he would have liked them to be. But all in all, not the worst of series for him.
Okay, fair enough.
So just on that bit, so that is actually what defines Siraj, and that is the problem with Siraj. You cannot go have a series where you bowl 150 overs and go at 3.96 in the entire series. That is very high. You can make those fall shots, but that is the problem. You are still living on extremes, and that is your second pacer. So again, the point of all those ratings that everybody is also having a word, you expect a lot more from someone who is a senior. You understand he's overboard, but then somebody has to take a call because 3.96 is a lot of runs for your second pacer in terms of control. So that is what it is sometimes with Siraj. Ek and ya dusra hai.
I agree. And with Nick's mentioning that point there, if you look at even Siraj's test career and how it's kind of progressed, he debuted down under last tour, and he's kind of, life's come a full circle almost in that first phase of his career. And let's see how he goes from strength to strength, because I feel like there's still so much that he can offer. Workload management is a big word which comes through when we talk about Siraj, especially with the numbers that Akshay just told us. 650 overs this year is incredible, which is madness anyway. Ravish, Pava saying their own thing, saying Siraj doesn't use his brain, just goes with bowls. Looks like South Africa would compete. We'll get to that. Don't give us any spoilers. I'm not seeing South Africa Pakistan right now. I know they just managed to get a lead in the game, but I don't know what's happening yet at all. Santosh Sharpa, you have a really good question about Siraj, or rather the Indian Pacers. We'll take that in the best man comments. The 12th man comments, best man comments. Been attending too many weddings. That's the problem. And Damodar Badla saying, at present situation, we don't have gun bowlers like Bumrah, Shami to place. This can be a greater concern in the Champions Trophy if any of those are injured. Yeah, and again, talk about Siraj in that. Right, final player to give the ratings on, and that is Jasprit Bumrah. Are we giving it the inevitable 10? I mean, even though I've been very kind and lenient, I'm not giving Bumrah a 10 because I would give him a 9.7. Just because no one can be perfect. If literally...
Sorry, bro, he's gone at 13. I mean, do you understand? 13.
I know.
You should give him, or you could say he's not rateable. He's unrateable for any mere mortals. In a lineup like this, see, you can understand. Sometimes if you have a poor lineup, you can stand out. The guy has stood out between both teams and by a comprehensive margin. See, Scott Boland has come in and probably gone at 13.7 as an average, which is, again, outwardly for anyone to have a series like that. I would never even take anything off Bumrah. Ulta, मेरा थोड़ा अगर hamstring का power है, किसी का कुछ power मिल सकता है, keep him fit. That is all I'll say.
So is he a 10 for you then?
Oh, without a doubt. I'm saying he's not rateable.
Okay, he's unrateable. Unrateable, unplayable, one just with Bumrah. Akshay, where do you sit in Bumrah?
Yeah,
10.
I mean, yeah, if that's the maximum, whatever the maximum is, just 10. उससे ज्यादा मिल सकता तो वो भी दे दो. बाला ने जो एंड में बोला वो भी मेरे दिमाग में आया. एक्स्ट्रा मार्क्स दे दो, जो भी चीज के लिए सब दे दो. काटना है सिर्फ इसी के लिए कि भाई उसका कोई ऐसा प्यार नहीं है जो उसको इतना बड़ा मतलब बड़ा चढ़ा के बात करे उसके बारे में. That's probably the only reason why I cut points. Apart from that, a phenomenal series. The fact that someone like Ricky Ponting has gone on record and said this is arguably the best ever series of pace bowling I've seen in my life. For someone like Ricky Ponting to say that, that's very, very, very high praise. So this goes on to show the kind of series he had. And also because I don't think anyone saw it coming out. We all, of course, depend on Bumrah. We all expected Bumrah to do well. But boss, this is way beyond doing well. So it was phenomenal. It was fantastic. Yeah, just a loss of words. And that's all we can say to be honest.
Look, with Bumrah's captaincy, also given points in Perth, I think he led the team really well in that Sydney game up to a point where his back, of course, kicked in. And just the fact that when we look at Jasprit Bumrah, the cricketer, more and more we're starting to think as Indian fans that It's not Sachin. It's not Kohli. It's Bumrah, who's probably turning out to be the greatest ever Indian cricketer ever. And it pains a lot of people who watch Sachin over the years, who watch Virat right now. But let's be honest, cricket is a game where bowlers need to get you wickets, especially test match cricket. And no matter how heroic the batters look, it is the bowlers who need the credentials, and Bumrah has that in his locker. So fine, I'll give him a 10. I was just being silly with saying 9.7. Right, let's move on. And of course, adhere to one of the comments right now before we wrap up. Chandran Ramaya begging us and asking us to rate the coach and team management as well. We won't get into the Morning Morkel and Ryan Tenishgard and all of that because we don't know what they're doing in terms of the backdoor stuff. But Gautam Gambhir, 2 back-to-back series defeats as coach. He's come out in that press conference saying, guys, it is literally something that we'll look about. He's kind of buying time in terms of let's not talk about it right now. The series is just done and dusted. So he's used all the tactics in the book as the media rater over there. But as a coach, this is what made Ravi Shastri feel so much better as a coach when you look back at it all like this. Because I don't know what his communication was to the team, but he's not got the best out of his seniors. And you could say that, yes, maybe the youngest star of the team kind of thrived under his coaching, but how much could you attribute that? So on Gambhir, really quickly, boys, how much would you rate him on 10, this BGT?
I really don't know if I have a number, to be very honest, for Gambhir, because the problem with, again, this entire management is you don't know who's making these calls in terms of, getting that combination. Because right from the first says they wanted to play a defensive 11 where they wanted to go for batting more than 20 wickets. So I think that is the one thing that I have an issue with. That is something that I feel the coach and the management can definitely come in and have a conversation that we are really not going for 20 wickets. We are really playing 3 batting all-rounders. This is not how we will win the game. So that is something that I'll hold him accountable for, and also for not being able to get more plans versus Travis Head. You had Travis Head scoring so many runs at that average and that strike rate. That is something, and this is not the first series that he's playing. So considering all that, I still don't have a number in mind. But I think those two were one of my biggest pet peeves with this management. The selections and the combinations that they did.
I'd give him points for laughing his ass off multiple times on tour, especially when we were kind of avoiding follow-on in Brisbane. That was great. And the fact that he didn't hold back in terms of giving it to the Australian media. There's so much really a coach can do. It's the players which kind of reflect that. One word answer from you, Akshay. Gambhir, rate him on 10.
नहीं यार मेरे पास कुछ है ही नहीं बोल like nothing. It's very difficult because I really don't know how much of it can you actually attribute to him. So I'll probably leave this ball outside the off stump for now. Maybe I'll nick it later.
Okay, fair
See, I think
enough.
maybe we can wait, and once they play a few more series where we see him making changes and him bringing more of his ideas into the picture. Because so far, these were all already players who were established. He got 2 people in. One worked out brilliantly, one did not. So very difficult to read into that.
By the way, so far, 7 months into his tenure, he's only won a T20 series against Bangladesh and a Test series against Bangladesh. Or South Africa bhi hai, theek hai, that T20 is against South Africa. Baap re.
Udhar Lakshman tha lekin, no?
Yeah, I didn't want to say that.
Sir, Bangladesh hai.
He's only won against Bangladesh, man. That's unbelievable. Nikhil Bhai, loved your show. Should also coach a domestic level tweet about Gambhir. And Chandan Ramya saying Gigi's press conference is also quite vague and lacked clarity. If Gigi backs his PC, then 5, saying Ravi Singh. Indeed. Look, we've enjoyed rating all these players with you. And I think there was another comment. Atul Singh, brilliant shout out to Somesh in the Hindi show. Nix was part of it, Vikas part of it. Go check it out because these guys have, of course, dove deep themselves in that language. Let's see how Gambhir will manage without any senior players. Now you can blame them. Let's see how he'll manage without them. That's also there. And good to great saying GG4. Really quickly then, guys, because I'm not going to go into the Indian players, the rest of the lads. But if there's the highest player in Australia, who was it? Was it Travis Head or was it Patrick Cummins? For me, it was Cummins for sure. And who was the lowest player for you? I think it was Mitch Marsh for me. Is that agreed across 3 of us?
मेरे लिए Cummins Marsh है, agreed.
Yeah.
Cummins being the best, Marsh being the worst, and Travis Head being probably the close second over there. Cummins, by the way, bowled 1,000 and 2 balls. The only guy who's bowled so much in this series, but amazing stuff from Patrick Cummins in just terms of
Boland, the
To me,
second, the ball.
I think that's what I was going to say. I think Travis and Boland both are the same for me in terms of their impact and rate.
नहीं, मैं तो बोलेंड को ऊपर रखा है भाई.
Fair. Deserved.
It is.
No problem.
And Cosmics here saying Cummins for Stark equal 250 runs. Kohli wrote 221 runs. Yeah, I saw this as well on Instagram the other day. But that's how we see it. South Africa defeat Pakistan by 10 wickets in the second test. We're giving you some breaking news on this Monday Night Live. As you can see, we'll jump onto it in the best of the rest in about 15 minutes. I know this is already a long Monday Night Live podcast, but we'll just quickly do a sort of rankings of the controversies that we've seen in this BGT. There's been 5 to 6 which we can recollect. So I want you guys in the chat and Akshay and Nix to tell me whether it was a controversy or it was absolute just PR and nonsense. So we have those contenders there, as you can see. The Snicko being absolutely shambolic throughout. They had times where even the Hawkeye just didn't give me enough evidence. At least some of the Australian commentators felt that way about one LBW by Jaiswal or one review or whatever it was. The Sydney pitch, because normally when we see 15 wickets fall in India, many people abroad are writing expert columns about how pitch doctoring is happening, demerit points of the ICC and all of that. And then the third one is Sunny G, whether he was actually right to fume about him not being there at the presentation because his name is on the trophy. Fourth, Kohli, Constance, and the Kalesh, which happened, and we've had our opinion about it. I have an interesting take about Virat Kohli and that, so we'll talk about that. And then the Australian media, and of course, how they've felt left out with some players speaking only in Hindi. For example, Jadeja, was that right from the BCCI and their team manager, media manager? Only time will tell. And the head celebration, Navjot Singh Sidhu going on to say that was not on, that gesture implies more things than just a finger in the hole. We obviously know what that means. Right, so really quickly, boys, out of all the controversies, which one do you think actually was controversial? Nick, I'll start with you.
I think for me it's very obvious, the Snicko one. Again, my problem there is not to the technology, because again, technology is never 100%. We've heard that 1,000 times now. My only bit of that is with its usage. I agree with the call on Jaiswal that was made, that okay, you saw a clear deflection, so you went with it. That is also technology. Slow motion replay, seeing a clear deflection, that's also technology, fair. But then where did that logic go when you had KL Rahul being given out like that, and when you saw Washington Sundar being given out like that down the leg side? So to me, the usage was very, very inconsistent. The one thing that I've said time and time again about the umpire's call as well, that you need to start asking the umpire whether that umpire's call was for an inside edge or he actually felt the ball was not going to hit the stump. Because far too often we keep hearing that the umpire actually thinks he's edged it, but so he's not given not out. But eventually when the margin comes, it's like, okay, the umpire thinks it's going to hit or not. So I think that is on the umpire's call. But to me, in all of this, I think Snicko is something that I have a lot of problem with. Baki sab is more predominantly avoidable.
Yeah, Snicko for me, the one pissed me off with the KL Rahul one, the first test, I think it was. Obviously, the Jaiswal deflection sort of path with they show the ball, I don't have any complaints about that. And I was annoyed with another Sundar sort of Snicko later on. Akshay, what controversy stood out for you? You were telling me about something about Sunil Gavaskar, and actually he didn't have to be so angry, because what does the rule state about the BGT?
अरे रूल नहीं है बाबा, मतलब सिंपल है. It's the host nation that does it, not even the winning team. It's the host nation, whatever it is. Previously हुआ है इंडिया में जब हुआ, it was Gavaskar standing by himself, which is why it's even more bizarre कि भाई आप अकेले जब खड़े थे तब आपको याद नहीं आया कि अरे बॉर्डर का भी नाम है, उनको भी बुलाना है. So it was, yeah, to be honest, yeah, not the greatest of turns for Sunil Gavaskar himself. Too many mockers on him probably, because I never forget.
Obviously, everyone will recollect the stupid. But there was another one that he said in the final show.
The Jaiswal, ये optical illusion है, ये देखिए ball सीधा जा रहा है. Oh my God, भाई अब क्या? I don't know if it's right, but Avnish, your reaction during a certain unwind clip that went viral recently. You remember the clip, right? Just like how you were reacting, you were holding your face. Jatin Sabro, you can clearly see him holding on to his dear life, not to laugh, not to pause, just stay calm, just completely be there. But agreed that it was very inconsistent. Bumrah himself, there was a clip that went viral where Bumrah was asking the on-field umpire कि यार मतलब वहां पे स्टिक को दिखाता है तो भी नॉट आउट है, यहाँ पे स्टिक को नहीं दिखाया तो आउट है. So what exactly is how exactly is it being used? Which is where I felt कि boss, let us be very consistent with it. Half baked technology का कोई फायदा नहीं है. If it's not working, don't use it. Like that day, you could see a clear deflection. आप क्यों गए स्निको के पास यार, वहीं पे डिसीजन दे देते, खत्म हो जाती बात. None of this would have even happened. This is where I feel third umpires should be given a lot more authority, where if it's very clear. But again, the problem is ये भी subjective है. हमें जो very clear लगता है वो किसी और को कुछ और लगेगा. But yeah,
exactly. 100% agree with you on the technology part of it. By the way, Axe said it trying to say AB was not there in India during the India BGT cycle in 2023. Akshay, so I don't know whether Gavaskar was supposed to be at the podium or not, but at the end of the day, Sunny G didn't hold his comments back even in the Hindi show. I think that was well clipped up for reels. Not just the Boland one, but also why ask us? Everyone's just you can ask all the 140 experts in the country. Like he lost his mind. I think he was just giving up.
That is something that I did not mind at all, because you could see where it was coming from. Okay, why are you asking me? Who am I? We just come and talk for the television. So that is something I have no problem with. That is around fair, because we also see the same.
Also, his worst statement, to be honest, not even was that stupid one. Just 2 minutes later, when he said, Rishabh, you should go to the other dugout and all of it. मतलब कहीं पे थोड़ा तो आप मतलब आप वहां पे हो, हम यहाँ पे जब कर रहे हैं, हम थोड़ा अपने आप को मतलब सोचते हैं 1-2 बार, कम से कम एटलीस्ट कोशिश तो करते हैं. सोचते कि नहीं वो अलग बात है, बट आप जब 100-150 करोड़ लोग आपको सुन रहे हैं रोज, it is important. You cannot possibly make a statement like that and even get away with it. Like I hope there is some consequence to that, because that was a very, very, very obnoxious statement.
Okay, let's move from Sunny G and Snicko to Sydney's pitch, because of the shortest ever test to last in Sydney since 1896. And obviously, it was grassy, to say the least. As Sunny G put it, is where the cows would graze normally. Yeah, but it was a green mamba. But problem is, lots of people have their say about Indian pitches. But Nix, is it time that we call out the SCG? Do you think the ICC will look at it, be like demerit points, or do you think again these are the good pitches, like Gambhir said, that Test cricket needs?
No, you definitely want a sporting pitch. I don't think Sydney was sporting, if you want to put it that way. I felt MCG pitch in that regards possibly was the best pitch of all. Not in hindsight, the match went on to 5 days, but you could see something for everyone. Because Perth pitch changed nature. Adelaide didn't change as much. Gabba was pretty similar, because you hardly had game because of the rain. So Sydney pitch, I don't think it was dangerous, because sometimes you see that in South Africa where the bounce is really rearing up on you and you feel, oh, this is very, very dangerous for the batters. So I think there was a lot more sideways movement, which is, of course, very, very hard to play for anybody. So I would possibly still call it average. Dangerous ke nahi, I think not quite qualified to call it dangerous or not.
Okay.
Sure.
Finally, let's, of course, just get the thoughts of the boys in the Kohli Conscious thing, because even though we spoke about it in the previous MNL, I've just looked at that over and over again, thinking, how the hell is Virat just not got a ban for it? Probably because sometimes I feel that the ICC kind of take things differently when they actually kind of handle star players. And I felt that just one demerit point and 20% of his match fees was just ridiculous. I think he should have got more. Akshay, what's your take on that before we just conclude with the head celebration? In the Australian media, I don't think it was a controversial thing. I just think they're one of those presses around the world which won't hold back, whether it's written or electronic. So we'll come to them in just a bit. But Kohli, do you think he's gotten away with it? Because definitely any other player in the world would have done that. They're missing one match, brother.
Yeah, for sure. He's gotten away. And yeah, I mean, it's the fact that it's so in your face and so blatant ki haan bhai, Virat Kohli hai na, bada naam hai, wo kuch bhi kar sakta hai. That was just not done. I agree that the penalties should have been a lot more harsh. If not a match ban, then at least it should have been a couple of demerit points or even more. We all know what happened to Kagiso Rabada way back in 2018. So, matlab, thoda to wahan pe, they should have been a lot more proactive. But yeah, it's not done on the ICC's part. I completely agree with you there.
Okay, let's move on and ask the boys really quickly whether they thought the head celebration or generally celebrations in cricket, if they invoke some sort of meaning, should we allow it? Because again, that main thing is kids are watching the game and you don't want to give them a wrong connotation. So what head did, obviously it didn't evoke anything of a fuckery or sexual indications, anything like that. I just think it was a finger in the hole. So what are we making of that? Was it a controversial one, Nix, in your opinion, or do you think players have the right to celebrate however they want?
Yeah, leave them at that. What stays or what happens on the field stays on the field. You'd have too many people celebrate in ways that you don't agree with. Again, we don't have the context what he actually wanted to mean, what he wanted to suggest by that. Okay, I made you do this or made you do that, or I got you in the trap. Whichever way you wanted to go, okay, you do it. As long as you get what you give, I have no problem. If somebody does a celebration and it irks you, then I'll have a problem. Okay, then you cannot be hypocritical. You can celebrate however you want. Then let others also celebrate however they want. So that is what it is.
Akshay, what about you? I mean, generally, even if you're playing the game, are you going to celebrate like how Rabada got Kamran Ghulam out today and celebrated him, saying off and all of that stuff? Or would you kind of do it like the Harshit Rana way to Mayank Agarwal, give him the kiss of death? Or would you do it Kesrick Williams style and be like, or would you do it where you pick up your shoe and then be like, hello, it's time for the pavilion, go back home, brother?
Or the remark celebration.
Yeah, but that's not malicious. I'm just saying the malicious ones.
See, again, malicious is so subjective. Who's kaha definition likha hai kya ICC ke rule book mein bhi ki kar kya rahe ho? And by the way, there is clear context. Travis Head himself spoke about how this is not the first time he's done this. He's done this way back in Sri Lanka, and basically the idea was apparently in Sri Lanka, the last time they played in Sri Lanka, he picked up a 4-4 or a 5-4. So jab unhone wickets liya tha, he went back and put his finger in an ice bucket. The idea was जब भी वो ice bucket में डालते उनको wicket मिलता है, यहाँ पे भी he'd even taken a wicket, and Cummins also spoke about it. Head himself spoke about कि boss वही कर रहा हूँ. बाकी I guess we just have to say कि boss, let's take our dirty minds out of the cut and let's not think too much into it. It's a celebration. वो करेंगे यार, वो 100 रन मारेगा या 5 विकेट लेगा, उस लेवल पे खेल रहे हैं, होता है यार सब. Everyone goes through an adrenaline rush. So yeah, I just think a lot has been made out of it unnecessarily.
Okay, super. Let's just finish off this BGT chat by, of course, talking about the Monday Night Live question tonight. So get chatty again, guys. It's your space to tell us what you think is Team India's biggest worry right now in terms of just Test cricket, maybe building out of the Champions Trophy, which we'll talk about in a bit, and 2025. What is it? Is it the coach? Is it the senior players? Is it the way the BCCI need to check, think about setting processes in place? Domestic cricket comes into equation even more. I'll ask Akshay and Nix to quickly give me their answers in about 30-45 seconds each. What you guys think is Team India's biggest worry, guys, right now?
This is across formats, to be clear, that you're asking.
Across formats. Right now, what is the one thing we need to change, or the one thing which really needs to go away from Indian cricket so there's greener pastures ahead?
यार इतना अगर अपने पास आंसर होता नोटे तक टीम इंडिया would have मतलब I don't think there's an answer. Is there? I'm just trying to think what
there are answers. It could be subjective. Like people in the comments saying the culture is bad, the accountability. Biggest worry for me going on to say good to great, giving Rocco a long rope in the mid-30s. So it could be anything for you guys. The fact that we don't have a clear captain after Test, again, we're guessing. So things like that. So Nix, Akshay, feel free to say anything about the biggest worry right now as a Team India fan.
See, to me, I think at this point of time, I think India's biggest worry is their Test cricket identity. It was very obvious when you had Virat as captain, or even with MS, that you knew what is the thing that they're trying to and what is with their comfortability. MS was comfortable with spin, Kohli was comfortable and more than happy to compromise on the batting to get 20 wickets. I think now is the time to really define what is the kind of cricket that you want to play in Test cricket for India, because you've gone from a stage where you played 4 bowlers or five bowlers to take 20 wickets to playing in Australia for runs. You almost played a specialist batter at number 8 in that very series, more than on one occasion. So to me, India's biggest worry right now is their identity, that how do we want to play our Test cricket? Do we want to go down the route where we give more accountability to the batters, or we want to give them a lot more freedom and go like England way, that we'll bat deep and then we'll figure out what we want to do with the bowling, because then we'll have more all-rounders. So I think one thing is something that will not suit everything. Your T20 cricket is sorted. One-day cricket, your template is already ready from the last World Cup. But Test cricket, you'll have to build an identity and have a roadmap, because you don't know who will be your next captain and who are your next number threes, number fours. Because Gill at this point in time isn't one. So who is your future players in your setup? So even the second pacer is a problem. The Test cricket for me is India's biggest worry right now.
Yeah, same for me. And Test cricket, to be more specific, I look at that England tour next, and we were debating, of course, in the WhatsApp chat, saying that there are no potential options at number 4. That's my big worry. The fact that I know we have lots of young batters around, but for us to kind of really cherry pick and give them that long rope, if we do give them that chance in England, so be it. But I want to know at least who are the names we're thinking of in the prelude to that England series and the WTC cycle in the next year or so. So that for me is Test cricket. Nick's said Test cricket. Akshay, for you, Wipo cricket, we're not that bad, because we reflect back in 2024, we've got the T20 World Cup with us. Champions Trophy, I'm guessing seemingly will be all right. So everything comes back to Test cricket right now as an Indian fan, or do you think it's a recency sort of thing right after the BGT? So obviously we're just going helter-skelter.
Again, sorry, at the risk of sounding very nihilistic, I personally don't think the T20 World Cup win is as, मतलब एक तो मेरे को चैंपियंस ट्रॉफी ऐड देख के मेरे को गुस्सा आता है कि भाई तुम उसको दिखा ऐसे रहो जैसे 15-20 साल से बेचारे तपस्या कर रहे थे यार, तुम भूलो मत कि नवंबर 19 को हुआ क्या था. Again, fair shout, they all deserved the World Cup, no denying that, but please यार वो थोड़ा मतलब just the way you're pushing it, I don't know. But and I'm not even looking at that World Cup win. Like, there's no point considering that. Probably my answer for what is Team India's biggest worry right now is the fact that they once again seem to be falling prey to creating all format players. We've spoken about creating separate pools and ensuring that अभी शुभमन गिल ओडीआईस के लिए बने, उनको ओडीआईस के लिए रखो, चाहे तो T20s में बैकअप भी हो सकते हैं, टेस्ट में काम नहीं कर रहे तो let it be. The fact that even for that matter, NKR, he made his debut with T20Is. He's already, been brought into the test setup. I won't be surprised if he quickly makes his ODI debut as well. My concern is कि बहुत ऐसे players के साथ आप सारे formats नहीं खिला सकते. You need to understand that you've got such a massive talent pool when it comes to T20 cricket. तो उन सबको वहाँ पे मौका दो यार. Create a separate talent pool and just try and earmark players for specific formats. If not leaders, if not coaches, at the very least players. नहीं तो सिराज जैसी हालत अगर किसी और की हो जाती, we never know. We've been lucky that Siraj hasn't injured himself badly, but that might not be the case with the next player who has to, play so much cricket. So we have to be a lot more smarter about it. And another point would be, ki boss, please stop saying ki, seniors have to go and play Ranji Trophy and this. Again, once again, Gambhir, this is where I hope that you, again, prove us all wrong and put your words where your mouth is. That was the saying I wanted to say back then. कि बॉस तुम अगर कोहली से रणजी ट्रॉफी खिलाना चाहते हो तो जो रणजी ट्रॉफी में अच्छा करे उनको भी मौका दो यहाँ पे. Like, what's the point of you just paying lip service to the whole idea of Ranji Trophy is arguably the greatest domestic cricket tournament on earth and all of that, if you're not going to give a chance to someone like an Abhimanyu Ishwara? Like, what even is the point? He's been a part of more than 14 tours. 14 series. And he's not gotten a chance yet. Despite time, like we all remember the India-England series, Jurel, Padikkal, Rajat Patidar, sab un tak ko humne debut jaake de diya. So I just hope that there is a very clear pathway charted out. Earlier it used to be, IPL, India A cricket. I don't want that to be the case. There should be a clear pathway where players, importantly domestic players, are given the confidence ki boss, aap acha karoge Ranji Trophy mein, then you will be able to reap your rewards. You will be brought into the India A setup. We've lost so many players in the last 3-4 years. Yeah, lost as in they've just aged out because they never really got a chance. And yeah, at the end of the day, they just become domestic stalwarts. So I really hope that happens.
That's a very good point, because when you look back at Gambhir's first press conference as India coach, he was asked this particular question about the pathway, and he gave the example of IPL to T20 national setup, and then Ranji Trophy to the Test setup, and Vijay Hazare to the ODI setup. So put your money where your mouth is, like Akshay said, and hopefully we'll judge Gambhir on that realm as well going forward. Many people having their say in the comments about Team India's biggest worry right now. It's the Monday Night Live question. Appreciate everyone having their say. Arnav Singh saying biggest worry right now is how the PR failed. It was required to change the narrative. PS Ran decided the major worry is the middle order and the captaincy. I think Sagnik Datta said their reluctance to let go of Rohit and Virat is the biggest worry for me. For me, they should not be part of the test team, even if they score thousands of runs in the domestic if they play. Another worry for me, saying good to great, is that they're not so much great opening starts in Test cricket for India and Sena in particular. And Asmith going on to say, biggest worry for me is the BCCI don't have any ready-made marketable guy. They're still dependent on Kohli to sell cricket, which is why I don't think they will drop him. And lots more coming through. I mean, Sachin fans saying the culture of batters of batting each other's back has to end. Team needs to start thinking about the win rather than to say batters. I'm specifying the batters. We all know who might be insinuating or kind of learning us about. Not against Gambhir specifically, but imagine telling Kohli to play Ranji when you pick Rahane for the WTC final based on his performance for CSK, saying Darshan, and lots more comments coming through. Look, we've enjoyed that segment as well compared to the others, but time to move on to best of the rest because we're nearly 90 minutes into the Monday Night Live episode 61, and it's time to get into the best of the rest right now because we've addressed everything else so far. Right, there's so much to talk about. Really quickly though, we'll start with a little bit of breaking news like we just kind of told you earlier. South Africa getting the job done against Pakistan in the New Year's Test and now making it 7 wins in Test cricket on the trot. And then, of course, they are also in the WTC final. Guys, what did you like about this test? Was it Ryan Rickleton? Was it Kyle Varane? Was it Rabada doing Rabada things? Nick, I'll start with you.
Tema Bauma, loved that celebration. And again, I had I wanted them to win the WTC final. Hopefully they do that. A good Babuma 70, a Rabada Pfeiffer, but still Marco Jansen ending up being the player of the match. So that is something that I'm already visualizing at Lords. Hopefully it happens. In this test, I think it was a very tricky call, firstly, to enforce the follow-on because the deck was actually very, very flat. I really thought, despite bowling so many overs, maybe they could have just batted and gotten more good time out in the middle. But they went down the way that, okay, we trust our bowling to come good. And there were a few dismissals that I really liked, most of them coming from Maharaj. But Rabada also bowled really, really well. So I think it was a good performance. There are a few people who haven't quite clicked in terms of David Bedingham not getting a score. It's almost like we expected him to come good. Even Stubbs hasn't had a go, a big knock. Maybe they are saving it for the final. So be it. But yeah, good series for South Africa. And can't wait to see Bhavuma leading in the final.
Yeah, it's a good time to be a South African fan because the SA20 is also going to be upon us very shortly. If we have time, we'll try to preview it for you in this segment itself. And the fact that they made the WTC final, right? Because they needed that win against Pakistan. They got it done with a bat in hand. Remember that 2-wicket win with Rabada and Jansen getting them across the line over there. And then, Akshay, when you think about it, one thing which comes to mind instantly, do they know their starting 11 at Lords? I know we're 5-6 months away, but is it almost a settled unit despite their great form here? And secondly, I'll save the second question in a bit, but can you literally see their starting 11 at Lords?
Most of them, yes. I'm just confused about the last pacer because, they've tried someone like a Patterson and then they've also brought in Mulder. So I'm not sure how exactly are they looking at it. Mafaka also, like Nikhil Babi, just unko bhi debut diya tha. So again, as long as they are clear within their heads, that's all that matters. But yeah, to me as a neutral fan, I'm not sure, who exactly are they looking at? What exactly are they looking for in that slot? It'll also be slightly surface dependent probably, but yeah, their batting order picks itself. Most of them have done more than decently and have been regular starters for them. So I don't see any changes happening there. Tony Dezorzi, Markram, Rickleton. I'm not saying it in order, just Sari Naam Ginwara, Stubbs, Bavuma, Bedingham, Virine, of course. So yeah, most of them. So I don't see a lot of changes, but I'm hoping for a very exciting battle because Australia versus South Africa at Lords, I don't think 3 months ago anyone would have predicted that to be the WTC final. But if that's the case, so be it. It'll be very, very, very fascinating.
Yeah, because I'm already guessing it'll be 3-1 in terms of the combination South Africa might dish out. Maharaj might play, even though it's Lords. And who knows, it could be one of either Dane Patterson, Corbin Bosch, and Mafaka. Rabada is already locked in. They might go in with Vian Mulder, who threw the ball. Jansen is there, of course. Sorry, Rabada and Jansen pick themselves, but I think it depends again if they want to elongate their batting. Did you guys see what Mulder did to Babar in terms of just throwing the ball back? And he's like, the stumps is here. And then he's like, sort masla, king kar lega, and all of that. But anyway, if you guys think South Africa could win the WTC, like this video, and then we'll hear what Nick's had to say. Nick's?
Yeah. Sorry, I just had a random visualization. Maybe how South Africa bowled Maharaj to Jason Roy. I would love if they bowl Maharaj to Sam Constas in that final. Very happy.
That'll be literally absolutely cinema, I feel, at Lords, and how Constas has behaved, especially not just with the bat and ham, but as a character as well. It'll be a cat and mouse sort of game, I feel. South Africa, after losing at Lords, would be like, in the end, it doesn't even matter. Temba Bavuma has yet to score a century in overseas, both in tests and ODIs. All his hundreds came only at home. Thanks for those stats. Freaking awesome. He also pointed out that Pakistan have never scored 350 plus in an innings in South Africa, which is interesting, but we'll confirm with our stats. Man, I don't doubt you, but just good numbers there. All said and done, saying good to great. Australia in ICC big finals. They will have their own template to win a game from nowhere. It is given, but expect South Africa bowlers to have some say. I think it'll be a great game. We've seen some games between these two nations go down to the wire, but I think Cummins is just too good, and his legacy as a test captain is only going to grow. It would have been fantastic if it happens to be a 3-match WTC final between Australia and South Africa. Yeah, it would have been absolutely ideal. And Ashutosh Bajpai going on to give his South Africa 11 potentially for the WTC final. Say Markram, Dizorzi, Rickleton, Stubbs, Bavuma, Virayan, Maharaj, Rabada, Bosch, and Jansen, all bases covered. And Santosh Sharpa saying, should they get away with the WTC final and declare them the highest percentage as winner at the end of the cycle, you can keep the winner was best of the rest, only for viewership. Again, good ideas to, of course, make the game much more attractive, Santosh, but it's about the ICC taking it indeed. I can't wait for Constas to get 10 career average after Sri Lanka and the WTC final. And Pava reckons betting him will play. Sagnet Datta saying, I hope the coverage is good. I think Star is only broadcasting last 2 times India were there, but now non-India coverage is really half-hearted when it's on Star. Hope WTC final is nothing like that. That's why get VPN and watch it on Sky. Give up on Star. Sorry, I know I might apply to Star later in my life for a job, maybe, but Sky Sports is the place to be, not Star Sports for sure. But let's move on and talk about other things which is making noise in the world of cricket, because this is the best of the rest. We have the 12th man section and Akshay's quiz. It is a long ass show, but bear with us. New Zealand Sri Lanka is going on, and New Zealand did win the T20 series. The ODI series is going on right now. Last night, I think Sri Lanka lost pretty badly. But what have you guys liked? The only thing I've seen of the series is a catch that a wicketkeeper took top edge near the boundary. Nothing else have I seen of the series. Have you guys seen anything? Be honest with me.
I've only seen highlights. I've only seen highlights of Matt Henry getting 4 and Will Young scoring 90, which is good for him. But yeah, that's all. Uske alawa, I haven't seen anything live.
Okay, fair enough. Jayasuriya is doing well so far in Sri Lanka colours after getting the job. I'm not talking about Prabhat, I'm talking about Sanath. What do you feel with regards to just how Sri Lanka have picked out any positives going into the Champions Trophy and all of that, Akshay?
मेरे को मतलब squad भी नहीं पता. I'll have to look at it. I'll probably just search the Shara's Yorkers and stuff. उसके अलावा तो I have no clue. I have absolutely no.
Sri Lanka, I'll just say one thing. Tisara Perera scored a very good century in BPL. So that is what I was, and not this.
What's the name of the fan club? Pererian.
Proud Pererian. That is the name.
That's wild. What did you guys make of it? The guys in the chat, I'm asking all of you all, Sri Lanka, New Zealand, Sri Lanka rather. Did you guys see it? Did you guys have any particular thoughts about any of your particular players who play for your IPL team, so on and so forth? Let us know. Sri Lanka had only one ODI series in New Zealand. It was way back in 2001. I remember that time where they had Chaminda Vas and all those guys. Sanath Khan can't put his pads on even now in T20 colours for sure. Such a powerful bottom hand player he was indeed. And Sri Lanka is not in the Champions Sorry, yeah, they didn't qualify, did they? My bad. Thanks, Sagni, for pointing that out, because it is an 8-team competition, and I've completely lost my bearings on that. Let's move on and talk about the Vijay Hazare next, or should we just finish off the international flavor with Zimbabwe, Afghanistan? Rashid getting amazing things in his test career, 7 for, and then I think a 4 for, 11 for in the game. And Afghanistan, Akshay, getting the job done in T20s, ODIs, and test cricket. So now are they with the big boys?
Clearly, I mean, Zimbabwe, I don't think there's a very wide gap between the two sides, and good to see at least थोड़े बहुत test cricket खेल, I mean थोड़ा बहुत test cricket खेल पा रहे हैं, but yeah, I don't see Zimbabwe Afghanistan. I never thought it would be a very well fought contest. The last time around, though, they played a test series. I watched each of them. In fact, I watched a day of it live as well because it happened way back in 2021 in Abu Dhabi. So that was a 3-match series. मैं चाहे तो उस test series के बारे में बोल सकता हूँ. यहाँ पे तो पहला मैच का मैंने थोड़ा बहुत हाइलाइट्स देखा, उसके बाद लाइक बॉस ये लोग मतलब हाईवे पे खेल रहे हैं, लाइक लिटरली हाईवे पे ही खेल रहे हैं. So I did not catch a lot of the second test match, but good to see Afghanistan do well. Ben Karan का थोड़ा बहुत देखा. I just wanted to see how is the third of the Karan brothers doing, and yeah, I mean he's not doing too bad for himself, I guess. But yeah, apart from that, not really a lot for me to share or talk about.
Good to great seeing Afghanistan has moved leaps and bounds as an international team with every passing year. And again, like what Ravi Shastri was suggesting, whether Test cricket in the WTC in the years to come goes into that whole 2-division scheme, maybe Afghanistan can look at it going forward and be like, do we belong in the top 5, top 6 of world cricket right now? Only time will tell. Nix, your 2 pence in Zimbabwe, Afghanistan, and did you make any money in terms of the fantasy cricket side of things in that series?
Yeah, thankfully, backed all the experienced guys there. I was honestly very scared when they got 157 all out, because then it felt, oh bhai, तुम ऐसे pitch पे first day पे इतना all out हो गए हो, and then Zimbabwe got a lead with Sikandar Raza playing well and Sean Williams doing well, and then Afghanistan were 69 for 5 or something around that, and then you had Rahmat Shah playing a very good knock and getting himself a ton. He's had a great series, a double century in the previous one as well. So him doing well with Ismat Alam was very, very good. I'll just take at what number he scored that time. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8. Number 8. Ismat Alam, absolute top knock, 101 of 181. And that ensured they had a very good target, which again, they started well. You really felt, okay, this could go anyway because they were 100 out for 4, but then 150 odd. Say that. And then Rashid came in and like, bro, let's just wrap this up. Let's not leave anything to chance. So good 7 for him to wrap up. Do look at some of the dismissals, especially the bowl of Brian Bennett, if I'm not wrong. Absolute pitch. Sean Williams, I think, got out of an inside edge, but Brian Bennett, pitch leg stump, hit middle. Lovely to watch. So do catch up on the highlights on that. I think it was a very good win for Afghanistan.
Yeah, indeed. Good points mentioned by Nick's over there. Rahmat Shah, remember, player of the series as well. And I think they just need a 15-odd deliveries to get the last 2 wickets of the day to get that test win. Afghanistan playing second test versus India this year, but not part of the WTC cycle. Thank you for that information, Arnab Singh. Arnab also going on to say, Virat playing in Zimbabwe versus Afghanistan wicket is the only option left. His confidence back in form. Afghanistan will have difficulty to play in England and Australia due to political situations in the country, and that always comes in between. Zimbabwe didn't have any reason to lose a test after Afghanistan trailing was 6 wickets down. Yeah, I mean, a word on Zimbabwe also, but look, it just makes you think about how they're really in the doldrums. If Afghanistan have come to your backyard and beat you in all 3 formats, that's ridiculous. Many people appreciating Rashid's bowling and lots more comments. But look, appreciate Zimbabwe, Afghanistan getting a lot more comments on MNL. Who would have thought that? But that's the community we've built. Big Bash League review. Dan Christian, the good old RCB man, is back. 41. Apparently, Sydney Thunder had a lot of injuries, and then he was just filling in. What else is excited you about Big Bash apart from the injuries? I know Dan Sams had to be stretchered off because he had a collision with Bancroft. One broke their nose. Both were.
Saw that live, and that was horrifying.
That was horrifying. What else has got your eye in the Big Bash? And has Melbourne Stars finally got a win?
Yeah, they got 2 wins, in fact. Before they, 2 back-to-back wins exactly. Sydney Thunder getting over the line against Perth Scorchers. That was a thriller of a game. That was a game where Bancroft and Sams had that bad collision. They were chasing 180 odd. If I'm not wrong, Rutherford chased it down. Very Jadeja's final ball, 3 of 1. Inside edges, the ball goes to fine leg, but of course, Avnish will deem it clutch. Tim David versus Overton, by the way, thrashed the living Jesus out of him. भाई साहब एकदम मतलब धागा खोल गया, मजा आया वो भी देखने में. कुछ 20-25 रन मारा था उस ओवर में. And apart from that, Lloyd Pope has really turned the league around. मतलब वो 30 runs देने के बाद एकदम ही he's just massively come back, and it's good to see. By the way, Christian did not do too badly at all. Hit a couple of sixes against Nisa, came back with the ball, 3 overs, 1 for 17. मतलब भाई साहब 40-41 के हो गए, लेकिन खेल तो रहे बढ़िया. Apart from that, yeah, nothing of note. Renegades continue to lose. Stars would have continued to lose if not for those last couple of wins. Baki, yeah.
Next, look at some of the run getters in the competition, and Ben Duckett's got 205 games that he's played. Do you think IPL teams missed out on Duckett in terms of the recent auction, or do you think, again, he might be that initial name that franchises might think is an injury replacement?
Yes. Yeah, I think 100% sure. If any opener, any overseas opener, especially the top 3 batter, gets injured, I think he could be someone that they can rely on. Again, because it's not that he's going to be in the league of Phil Salts, that very, very aggressive and still smash everywhere. But he could give you good, consistent starts, probably higher than Conway in terms of risk taking. So kind of in the middle somewhere there. So I genuinely hoping he does that. And yeah, I think I completely agree on Dan Christian part. Because 2 days back, like in half asleep, catching up to BGT, I saw Dan Christian, ye to coach hai, and he has to play today. So for an assistant coach to just come in and come good, and he did not look rusty by any means of imagination. You especially see the 6 that he hit of Bartlett. Proper vintage Dan Christian is a middle and leg pe bowler, and he's able to whack it over square leg. So good, and he also picked up a wicket. So as good as it can get. You can judge all you want for the standards of BBL, 41-year-old, but then that's happening everywhere. So you can't comment.
Yeah, but still not beating Brad Hogg's record, I think, who played the BBL at 45 or 46. It was Christian playing it at the age of 41. Well done. Some comments to take from the BBM, for the BBL side. Tim David, not trustworthy for RCB, performing well till now. I love Spencer Johnson.
Just on that, Spencer was great. Tim David was dropped. Half chance. And I was like, dude, अभी ये छोड़ा ना, अभी ये मारेगा. और वो मारा, मैंने टीवी बंद कर दिया. मेरे को नहीं देखी. छोड़े. I didn't watch it.
That's madness. Bethel should stop getting out in the 40s and 90s and tests. And yeah, good stuff from Bethel for the Renegades. Right, enough of the BBL. We'll reflect on it in the next MNL for sure. One thing which is definitely catching our eye is the Vijay Hazare Trophy and the finals in Vadodara on the 18th of Jan. But everything's kind of going well for some of the big dogs, including Karnataka, including Karan Nair, including Mayank Agarwal. So, Akshay, what's caught your eye in the VHT?
कुछ नहीं भाई, रजत पाटीदार ने सेंचुरी मारा, अपन खुश, बस आगे बढ़ते हैं. Like again, haven't had the time to catch up.
Do you look at all these tournaments and series only from an RCB lens?
Or why else? Like Nikhil bhai with a fantasy lens ही देख रहे हैं ना हम. मतलब क्यों? Why else would I be watching BBL or Vijay Hazare Trophy or any other league? मेरे लिए वही है, बस देखना है कि अपने लड़के कैसे कर रहे हैं, अच्छे फॉर्म में है कि नहीं. So yeah, it was good to see that.
Okay, next, any updates from you from the Vijay Hazare Trophy? Because I think everyone, I feel, when you talk about some of the big names in Indian cricket, whether it's Shreyas Iyer or for example, even Ravi Bishnoi, I think, has been in good form. So lots of these players that we know of have been turning it up. And how? Anything that you can tell us that we don't know?
2 people retired. If I don't know, you know, Rishi Dhawan called time. Sheldon Jackson also called time. And very fair reasons. Sheldon especially went on to say 37, 38. Don't want to eat any youngster spot. So fair call. And again, unfortunately, because of the BGT, haven't been able to pay enough time to catch up on the games. So hopefully something that I'll do later. But yeah, hopefully at least the IPL trials jo chal rahe hain for every team, that works out. Because even Ayush Madre, I think, scored very well for Mumbai in that one game. But unfortunately, haven't been able to see it live. So that is something I'll miss.
Yeah, those two retirements that you mentioned, now that I think about it, Rishi Dhawan, I mean, did we even remember the games that he played for India? I know he's played for India 4 times, 3-1 or whatever. I can't really recollect it unless I actually look back. And
Australia वाला याद है यार.
yeah,
He Bharat Run.
that was the same series where Barinder Shran also played, right?
Yeah. Bumrah made his debut. Pandya made his debut.
Yeah, that's true. And Sheldon Jackson was the IPL overseas pick, right? According to Star Broadcasters.
Correct. Yes. And
yeah, I mean, it is what it is. By the way, lots more comments coming through about the Vijay Hazare Trophy. Varun Chakravarti might be considered for Champions Trophy, according to Sari Saha. Akshay Raja digged his own grave when he didn't perform versus England. That was his chance. And Ayush Kumar saying, can we see Karun Nair back in the national team? I mean, he's been phenomenal of late. It was tad unlucky after that 300 in 2016. Tad unlucky. Fucking unlucky. No other Indian batters that he scored a triple done since. And he's just been omitted for whatever reasons he was. Mayank Agarwal and Shreyas Iyer should play in India and Test definitely, or at least one of them reckons.
Agarwal Test. Hey, Deepak.
Bold, very bold. How did you not bring the highest run score without getting dismissed? Karun scored 520. He did. I mean, brilliant stuff. List A records being broken from Karun, and how I think he's potentially an unwind guest. So watch the space on cricket.com. Sohami Srivastava, that's a name that I haven't heard in a while or seen in a while. Good to see you, and thank you so much. We did, of course, reach 100,000 followers not too long ago. So if you're, of course, still following us, brilliant. And hi to you. Right, let's move on. And SA20, I mean, we added this part of just quickly part of the best of the rest. Just tell me this, because we'll break it down for the viewers, maybe 2 days in the tournament in the next MNL or 4 days in the tournament in the next MNL. Who do you think could win it?
Sunrisers.
Sunrisers?
Because I'm a big fan of, if you get a pattern like a 3-5, there's a reason why 2012 stings me. Because if you do that, it's very difficult to emulate something like that going deeper into the tournament. So they've had good usage of people. So that's where I feel hopefully another season where they can continue to come good. Baki homework nahi kiya ab tak. Maybe next MNL might be a better place to dive deep into that.
Yeah, same. I've not done my homework at all. I don't even know the squads, but just guessing from past tournaments, I think. Yeah, Pal maybe for you, but I think Sunrisers again for me. I was just thinking about it. Imagine like RCB actually had franchisees apart from the IPL. Whether people like Akshay, people like all these other guys in the chat who are lovers of RCB would watch these tournaments even more. But you never know.
But Rohit, you have a good lineup. DK to hai, of course. That's an interesting addition. Jo Root bhi hai wahan pe. I was looking forward to seeing Jacob Bethel there, but Bethel has backed out. They have a very interesting bowling lineup. That's how I'll put it. There's Mafaka, Ishan Malinga, both of whom will be a part of the Rajasthan Royals setup as well. There's Lungi Ngidi, there's Mujibur Rahman or Mahesh Tikshna. No, Tikshna is with JSK if I'm not wrong. So yeah, it's Mujibur Rahman and David Miller, Josh Butler, and yeah, Jason.
Darshan is pretty thrilled about him not having any sort of SA20 tension in his life. Right, guys, it's been a long one, and there's Akshay's quiz and still some of the questions to take from your end. There is lots of cricket to watch this week, including the India women's taking on the Ireland women in the first ODI on Friday. It's happening in Rajkot, all 3 games. Let's quickly tell you the squad about that. Akshay and Neha will talk about it in their podcast, but here we go. There is, of course, a change in captaincy with Smriti Mandhana now getting the job for this series. Diti Sharma as a vice captain. So pretty much Akshay's favorite player and Nick's favorite player got the leadership charge. Quickly, a word on that squad, because I know you'll break it down with Neha in the Women's Cricket Podcast, Akshay. How did you see it? And more importantly, what does this even mean for the women's cricket in terms of ODI this year?
I mean, to be honest, a couple of very bizarre choices there. Sayali Sadgare, good for her. She was the highest wicket taker in the senior women's ODI trophy that way. Fantastic. But the fact that despite Renuka Singh Thakur not playing, you've decided to, not include Arundhati Reddy. It's just like, I really don't know what to make of it. And Smriti Mandhana being given captaincy, I don't know how much of it is down to Harman being dropped or Harman being rested. I want to believe it's the latter. So, matlab, island series, it's not really something they have to, rack their brains about. But that pace attack does not give me a lot of confidence. Tita Shadu, Saima Thakur, Sayali Satgare, a lot of youngsters included Tejal Hasabnes, Ragvi Bish, Minnu Mani, Pratika Rawal at the top. Interesting choices, but given that this is the World Cup year, the fact that they don't really have, 7 or 8 names of the 11 locked in really makes me slightly worried. I really hope, they get that 11 in order soon enough, because they don't have too many games before the World Cup. Right now, as per FPP, they only have 9 ODIs, which include 3 against Ireland, 3 against England, and 3 against Australia. So, they'll need a lot more game time if they want to really settle. If they want to really lock in the 11.
Yeah, what I don't get about these women ODI games is that it happens in the same city. Like we saw them play West Indies, they played all 3 in Vadodara. I know it was a new international venue and the BCCI had that part of their thinking, but again, this time all 3 in Rajkot. Why is it happening in all Gujarat? I mean, obviously math is mathing, but next again.
I wonder why Gujarat?
अच्छा इसमें एक और conspiracy theory. Akshay, do you think Pacers should stop playing for Delhi Capitals in WPL because every WPL Pacer Sika doesn't get picked, Reddy doesn't get picked. There is no sense. Maybe she's done too well to be picked.
The fact that they don't even bother justifying it. Sri Lanka के लिए injury बोल दिया, तुम हरलीन ड्यूल के लिए बोलते हो, प्रिया पुनिया injury है बोलते हो, तुम अरुंधति रेड्डी के बारे में नहीं बोलते.
And what do you make of the vice captain choice? Honestly, very surprised.
Yeah, ideally because ideally after Smriti, I would want Jimmy to take over the mantle of captaincy. उस हिसाब से तो she should have been made vice captain. But I'm not really reading too much into it. I'm just guessing कि वो experience के चक्कर में दीप्ति शर्मा के पास गए. It's just that they have a million problems to solve, and this is one of them. मेरा वही है.
You had a chance to say वो भी दिल्ली के लिए खेलती है, but you missed it.
अरे.
Okay, more on women's cricket with Akshay and Neha, and follow that space as well. They've already done, I think, 4 to 5 podcasts, and it's all great Indian women's cricket chat. Indian women's like their opposite sex saying good to great will steamroll every team here in India, and then it'll come a cropper overseas. Just going to say that's a bizarre squad, reckons Arnav Singh. And Deepak Madhuru saying Tejal is not a fit player. Fielding should be first priority for Indian women's cricket team to be successful. And there's so much inconsistency in women's squad selection. Every time different names, reckons sports fan. Avinash, it's Gujarat, brother. Not saying Jaisha is from Gujarat. First of all, it's Avanish, brother. Get that right before it's Gujarat and trying to tell me off, Arnav, but just joking. Anyway, we've had a great best of the rest, elongated one and elongated MNL as well. Quickly like this video, guys, because I've realized that it's been constantly 300 of y'all watching, and more specifically on YouTube. I know it'll pick up the numbers and stuff. If you're watching on YouTube, like this video right now, because we'll take all your questions in the next 10 minutes or so. Before that, as usual, on the Monday Night Live, it is Akshay's How's That? Right, if you're joining us for the first time, you don't know what How's That is, it's Akshay's quiz that he does every week. There is a prize attached to it. There was a winner last week. There was a deadly question last week and an even better one this week. So Akshay, take it away.
Yep, let's have the question out first. There we go. So we were talking about the MCG test and what had happened there. Something happened on day 5 of the MCG test that had the certain player stay on top of a truly unusual list. A list that boasts of Kemar Roach and Waqar Younis, with Kagiso Rabada being the latest entrant joining it yesterday. Yesterday being last Sunday, of course. ID the player and what this list is all about. Lord, if you got it right, congratulations. But like always, there'll only be one lucky winner. The correct answer, of course, is Nathan Lyon. And we were talking about players that have scored over 1,000 runs without having hit a 50. And Nathan Lyon, by virtue of being standard at 41, he got out at 41, did not score a 50. It meant that he still held on to that record, and good on him, of course. Kagiso Rabada with that 19 ball 28 the previous day against Pakistan also just joined the list. That was the correct answer. Neural hacks with Vasant is our lucky winner this time around. So congratulations, Vasant. Do get in touch with us on Twitter, and our social media team will take care of it. Coming to this week's Howzzaat, we all have been talking about Mohammad Siraj and how many overs he's been bowling and whatnot. This is the question for you guys. Harbhajan Singh holds the test record for bowling the most number of overs in a calendar year. when he bowled a whopping 705 overs in 2008. Amongst pacers, or specifically Indian pacers, ID which Indian holds the test record for the same? Once again, Harbhajan Singh, of course, holds the test record for bowling the most number of overs in a calendar year, when he bowled a whopping 705 overs in 2008. So, amongst pacers, ID which Indian holds the test record for the same? So, if Harbhajan Singh holds a record for having bowled the most number of overs in a calendar year by an Indian, who is the corresponding pacer? I want the year and I want the bowler's name and the year. And it'll be very interesting. There are quite a few names you might have wanted to, I mean, you guys might be thinking of. Let's see who gets it right, because it, I think, is a slightly unusual name that way. So let's see. And once again, guys, like always, do not key in your answers in the live chat. You're just going to help your fellow viewers. Wait for the live stream to end and key in your answers in the main comment section in order to stay eligible for a 500 rupee Amazon voucher from us.
This is post 2000.
Yes, that's right.
Post 2000, I'm thinking RP Singh, Munaf, one of those innocuous names.
I'm very shocked. And I had a name, but then when he said unusual, I don't think it's unusual, but ठीक है.
Yeah, lots of people already saying Arnav Singh, Siraj, Kapil Dev Singh, Vishwanath. Vishwanath, if you're new, please subscribe and like this video immediately. There's lots more of your questions to take. It's definitely Bumrah Singh Pava. If you think it's Bumrah, do comment after the show is done and stand a chance to win a prize. But that is Akshay's quiz of episode 61 of the Monday Night Live. And it's right now time to, of course, address the best in terms of the 12th man segment, because it's time to take questions from you all. Right. Akshay has just buzzed off because I don't know what's happened. He didn't want to answer any of your questions, apparently. So he's just like, listen, MNL's done and dusted for me. But I still have Nix with me. And let's give Nix the first one right now, at least the one that I can see. Ayush Kumar had this one. I still believe Virat Kohli has one more test peak left in him. And surely the next WTC cycle, Kohli is going to set the stage on fire. Your views on this, what do you guys feel?
It's all on the England tour. All on the England tour. If he does well there, because I think, again, right from the start, I've been saying it, I think he'll play the England tour for sure. And maybe then he'll probably take a call, depending on how that goes. So I feel he needs to spend some time away, and away, by away, I mean away from whatever he wants to do, whether it is Ranji or a county, it's his call. But I think if it doesn't do something to change what is troubling him, I don't think the results are going to change. So I genuinely hope he finds, because he knows what he has to do. It's not that he doesn't know, but he's still getting lured into that shot. So there is clear way that how he can get better. So I'll also hope that there is a peak left in him. But at this point of time, I feel it's one series for sure. I'm not sure of the future after that.
Okay, interesting. We got Akshay back on. I generally feel I would be saying I'm optimistic, to put it lightly, if I think Virat has another test peak in him. We all want him to get to 10K runs or whatever. But I generally now think he needs to go back to the drawing board and be like, how the hell do I address my red ball woes? Because sure, he might get that opportunity in England because he's done that before. And of course, 2014 shit tour, but 2018 he came back and did well. Now, whether India actually stick with him or twist, time will tell. Lots more questions about Virat. Do you see him scoring 10K runs or not? Again, it's about how they perceive whether he plays in the longer format or not. It comes down a lot to him as well. One more question about Virat was asked by Asmit to Akshay, saying, Akshay bhai, you must have read many articles on Virat Kohli. What do you think about Kohli right now? Is it a technical thing or mental or simply lack of shots? Not to mention the pitches have been difficult as well.
A combination of everything, yeah, and also lack of shots, fair reason, but we need to understand that beyond a certain age, even Tendulkar, like post 30, like post his return from that tennis elbow, even he cut down on a lot of his shots. He stopped, using those back foot punches, the cuts especially. He started moving to something that was a lot more economical. We remember how he used to love pulling and hooking the ball. He stopped doing it because you have to understand age catches up with you. Your reflexes slow down slightly. You need to adhere, you need to adapt to the format accordingly. Tendulkar did that to a great extent till about 2010, 2011. I think Virat Kohli is probably still yet to make that switch completely. But I don't think it's something very bad. It's a feature, not a bug. Beyond a certain age, you need to adapt. You need to come up with different shots, different ways, and that's where I feel probably he's been slightly caught wanting. It's not necessarily the lack of shots; it's the fact that he's not really adapted as quickly as you would have expected from someone as good as him. Barring that, I mean, technical to we have discussed this now. We know that he has this tendency to go and get a feel for the ball early on. He's tried to cover for it by taking that awesome guard. He's tried to, be a lot more side on. But invariably, uski wajah se kya hua? Boland, especially because his natural length is also that 6 to 8 meter length, it became a lot more easier for Boland because you sort of played to his strengths. Earlier on, they had to bowl slightly fuller to get that movement and shape it away from him. Now they have to bowl slightly shorter because he's that much more side on. तो डिफेंड करने के चक्कर में भाई साहब आउट हो रहे, पहले ड्राइव करने के चक्कर में आउट हो रहे थे. एंड अगेन आई एम ओवरली सिंप्लीफाइंग दिस. देयर आर अ लॉट मोर फैक्टर्स दैट गो इनटू इट. देयर आर लॉट मोर इवन the oppositions themselves aren't dumb. They also analyze, they also understand what lengths to bowl, what channels to bowl, and pitches haven't been his best friend as well. But again, तुम जो भी बहाने बना दो यार, जो भी reasons बता दो, sure, on paper you can point, I mean, you can sort of, attribute it to these reasons, but even then that does not mean कि हाँ ठीक है वो 0 पे आउट हो गया या 16 पे आउट हो गया तो चलता है. He still has to overcome them because he's Virat Kohli. So
yeah, that's my concern. Yeah, like with Virat, he needs to try to fix that and quickly. If he's not already done that, I don't know how it's going to benefit him going forward. More questions to take and comments, of course. If you guys have missed your say, do let us know because we've really overshot our time on this Monday Night Live. Is our seam bowling depth in a bad place? Asking DOF. He was asking us this when we were rating the BGT performances of the Indian players. Nix, I'll give this one to you. What do you feel? Siraj is our second pacer, Shami injured, and then we saw, of course, Harshit Rana, Akashdeep, Prasidh Krishna as well. Where do you stand on this?
I actually feel we have more seam bowlers than swing bowlers, to be honestly. So I feel we actually need more swing bowlers in the system. Too many of them are seam bowlers. Siraj is seam man. He can swing the ball, but predominantly seam. Shami is seam. Akashdeep again uses the seam really well. Prasidh is still more swing, but again his length, he can also get the ball to something off the deck. So there are options, but to me, swing option is something that I'm looking forward to because that is something where people will bowl more full. With seam, you are predominantly happy bowling good length and behind, but we are missing out on new ball wickets because we're not bowling at times not very full but full. So I think swing bowling zyada come as compared to seam.
Okay, interesting. Next, good to great asking us, yeah, seriously, Washi is number 3 for me as he got the technique to play in line with the ball. I don't know why most of you guys agree with that idea.
I'm guessing he means don't agree with that idea. Basically, he wants Washi to bat. He wants Washi to bat at number 3. It's a tough one to answer. Yeah, sure, not too bad a shout, or not as bad a shout as good to great things others think. ठीक है, कर सकते हो. If they do experiment with it, I don't think I have an issue necessarily with it. But my only thing is, तो फिर कितना time दे रहे हो, and does that mean he'll now be batting in? Playing in the 11 just as a batter, or will we continue using his bowling abilities as well? Because if it's going to be the latter, then sure, why not? Try karke dekho, bhai.
Interesting. It's about giving the opportunity and then whether those guys take it or not. More questions.
This is an interesting one. Let's take one before Avnish searches for another. Who should be India's next test debutant? I have a name in my mind. I'll just go ahead first. I think it has to be Arshdeep Singh. So Nikhil bhai ne bola tha, because in fact, adding to Nikhil bhai's point, he spoke about how India probably lack bowlers who can move it in the air. Arshdeep Singh is one of those who can do that. I know Yash Dayal has been included in a couple of our squads previously, but I think Arshdeep also has a bit more pace. So wo aur bhi zyada, potent ho sakta, and the left arm angle, of course, we cannot deny how it adds a different dimension to the attack. So that'll also go a long way in ensuring that we have a much more rounded pace bowling attack. So for me, it has to be Arshdeep Singh. Nikhil bhai?
Sai Sudarshan. I think a name that is ready. And
I was going to say that exactly next, because the next question was this, and my point is we should try the boy at 3. Sai Sudarshan for me as well.
Yeah,
True.
Yeah. 100%.
For
As
sure,
the
yeah.
game is done well on the domestic level as well. So again, he's ticking those boxes for you. He's not coming in on the back of a good IPL.
सरी के लिए भी अच्छा खेला था. द जोक इज मतलब लास्ट टाइम जब किसी ने ऐसा ही सवाल पूछा था मेरे दिमाग में साई सुदर्शन आया था और शायद आपके दिमाग में हर्षदीप आया था. बट दैट्स द थिंग. सो दीस आर नेम्स हु शुड बी अ पार्ट ऑफ इट. वो आते रहेंगे जाते रहेंगे. सो या agreed.
Okay, we have time for two more and then we'll F off kindly. There was one which I've lost because there were so many good comments coming through earlier today. There was one in Pant. Yeah, we read this one out.
So I'll ask one question just because till that time we can. Do you think you can play Pant as a pure batter in the test side? I feel so, yes.
So who's your keeper?
At 6. Dhruv Jurai.
तो नीतीश कुमार रेड्डी कहाँ पे?
7.
नीतीश Kumar Reddy. Or 7.
तो जडेजा कहाँ पे? जडेजा 8 पे तो नहीं खेल सकता. That's the tricky part. Unless जुरेल को तुम नंबर 3 पे ऐसा कहीं खिलाने को रेडी हो तो ठीक है. या ओपनिंग या
Jadeja can still be your maybe not in England, but otherwise I feel again if you want that depth, see the Nitish Kumar Reddy, if he doesn't bowl, then that is my problem. Okay, if you are not going to bowl him at all, so it's a very tricky selection to make because if he's still batter, so he has to bat at 6 if he is not going to bowl. So then you can have two all-rounders at 7 and 8. क्योंकि 8 पे तुमको थोड़ा बैटिंग चाहिए तो because then in this case if you play Jadeja at 8 you have 3 pacers to follow them. That is still 4 bowlers. So and
yeah, because Ant Sundar is also there, and if you want to throw in someone like Sai Sudarshan in, then he becomes a left-handed option. So there's Jaiswal, Sai Sudarshan, Pant, Jadeja, Sundar is your lefties, and there was a time where India lacked those lefties. But good points mentioned by you guys there. Sarish Saha asking us really quickly, Nitish Reddy or Riyan Parag for the Champions Trophy. I would give it to Riyan Parag right now because of the conditions, because he already played the Asia Cup as well, and he's got a little bit of ODI experience under his belt. So maybe Parag and just kind of temper it with Nitish Reddy. I don't know where you guys stand in it because we still have Hardik in terms of the white ball cricket, right?
Yes, then Hardik's backup is Nitish more than Riyan, I feel.
Okay.
Maybe also because it is in UAE, you might need that extra option with the ball. And again, despite I'm trusting Riyan with the ball and Nitish with the ball, feels quite ugly similar. So I think you will have to take that call basis conditions because your top 5 select themselves. There is only one spot, and again, if Hardik is fit, even that spot is sealed. So then you're only debating at 7. Do you continue with Jadeja or do you want to try one of these two? That is also an option because I think Kuldeep should play, and then you have the 3 options. And if Varun is playing, then I don't think there is a space to pick even either of these guys because then you want Hardik and Jadeja, Kuldeep, Varun, but then just 2 pacers. So it's just lot of maramari there. So yeah, that is tricky.
Yeah, seriously. Freaking awesome saying Dubai International Stadium is not a high-scoring venue as it will assist spin as well. I wouldn't be surprised even if they go with 3 pacers and 3 spinners combination. Will Pant in the Champions Trophy bat at number 5 or will KL Rahul will play? I think it'll be KL. And look, with the Champions Trophy, Agarkar has made it clear that 12th of Jan, where they will be announcing the squad for sure. 13th of Jan will be the Monday Night Live. So I think we'll hold that episode purely for the Champions Trophy and look ahead early of what can happen in that tournament. But it's over 2 hours that we've given you our time this Monday Night Live. Thank you so much, Akshay and Nikhil, for your thoughts, your banter, and your rants on this show as always. If you guys have just joined us, like this video. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Lots more coming on cricket.com and lots that we've discussed in the last 2 hours. We will put out the time codes right now for you guys in case you've missed it. But we've, of course, talked about the controversies, the ratings, and even India's biggest worry right now from a fan perspective. That's all we have time for. It's signing off from a Monday Night Live episode, the first one of 2025. Many more to come. Until the next time, my name's Avnish Hegde. Goodbye to Nikhil Popat and Akshay Kumaraswamy. Cheers. We'll see you soon. Jesus, where is it? Where is it, man?